This is The Extra Sheep, the unofficial Age of Empires 4 podcast, hosted by me, Socerton, along with Sir Nevels and Beale. How are we doing, guys?
Doing good. Doing good.
Good, sir. What's going on?
It's going. It's been a week. It's been a week. We also do have a special guest in here with us today. Welcome in the fabulous, the extraordinary, the one-of-a-kind, the China-loathing TenFourTim.
I've never been introduced like that. That's fantastic. Hi, everybody. I'm super excited to be on here because I know I was supposed to be on here maybe about a month or two ago, but we had some scheduling difficulties. So I'm glad you fit me in. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. And we've been looking to get some more guests on the show. We're going to kind of work our way up, and you are kind of like our gateway drug to the greater streaming community, TenFourTim. You have been most recently picked up by EGCTV, if that's
correct. Yeah, I did 2 EGC casts already, one yesterday. Right now we're recording on the 4th of June, so on the 3rd I did. And the week before, that Saturday, the very first EGCTV 2 stream I did.
Nice. And we will be interviewing Tim a little more in depth here. Instead of a game, we usually do a game on this. I didn't have time or the wherewithal. I had a kidney stone. Just gonna throw that out there, everyone. I was really under the weather this week. My planning, as far as like in-depth planning for like, usually I do a lot of stuff to get ready for the game and stuff. I didn't do that this week. I was having a rough time. But so in lieu of that, we are going to have a fun interview with Tim. We'll get to know him a little bit better, hear his story, what he thinks of the game, how it's been at EGCTV. So that'll be fun. But first, before we do that, I think we should dive into a little bit of AoE news. We've had some big things kind of happen over the last couple weeks. This is a little out of date now. It happened like almost right after last episode released. But I saw an interesting announcement on Twitter. Relic laid off like 120 some odd employees. Pretty big news. They're only a development studio of about 400 employees total before this. So that was kind of a big shock. Sounds to me like their Company of Heroes release didn't go very well. And so I'm thinking that had something to do with it.
They would have learned. Launching a game with no replay, no color picker, there's so many lessons they could have learned from launch of AoE 4. And I know it's likely 2 separate teams. Maybe there's not full communication between the entire company, but it seems like this one could have been avoided with just previous lessons.
You think they were too far in development to maybe go back and try to add all that in?
Must have been some sort of deadline crunch to just hit the target release date.
Possibly, yeah. I think Company Heroes, I think it was supposed to be. I guess it doesn't really. It's such a big gap between AoE 4 and Company Heroes. If you look at traditional RTS, because honestly, people were comparing them when they first launched, and they're actually super different. I actually bought Company Heroes, put 2 minutes into it, and then I was just off rip, I knew it wasn't for me. I Steam refunded it, but it's just, I realized, I remember when the game first came out, we were talking about how, what effect it will have on AoE 4 with Company Heroes coming out. And honestly, they really are 2 different games. And I, like you said, Bill honestly said, it just a lot of things feature lacking that actually plagued AoE 4 when it launched.
Well, the map pool for that game didn't look that exciting either. It just felt like there was they kind of had the 2 different types. You had in the desert of Africa and Italy, Italy Village. It didn't seem like there was a lot of variation. I saw a lot of guys who played a lot of Age. I think of Fitzbro. I know he jumped over and played a lot of Company of Heroes for a while. I know a lot of guys kind of dabbled in it. I feel like most of them have already stopped streaming it.
Oh yeah, I think everybody's done. The game has I think either just over 1,000 players online on Steam, if not less. I checked it not too long ago, and the game, it really is not that big of a player base. And it's just, there's only 4 factions, 4 different. So I kind of feel it's kind of going on the same road that maybe a lot of people squint their eyes at AoE 4. Not that many factions. It's not really, I don't think it's a really economy based game either.
No, it's really not.
There's more map control, and you can't. I don't think there's any individual unit movement. You can only move basically groups of you couldn't move groups of 5 or 10 units at a time. There isn't no there's not. I don't think it's really micro in the game at all, really.
Well, isn't that the whole point of the game is that it's more micro focused than Age of Empires would be?
I thought it would be, but I remember when I played, and this is me speaking, like I'm not a Company Heroes guy, so I could be honestly butchering it, but I just remember when I was playing it, like when you spawn a unit, like you control units of like 5 and like units of like, it's not like, AoE4, if you're playing a unit, one of them gets low on health, you can move that unit away and send them off for a little bit, like where Company Heroes, like, it's more like map control centric. Like you go on the map and you secure different spots will add more to your supply, and that supply is used to eventually, overrun your enemy. It's just I think it was just underwhelming. The campaign also was very underwhelming too. Like it's like a big map. You go on the map trying to secure parts of Italy and like Africa, and the campaign was probably a big selling point of the game. A lot of people for the campaign. It was underwhelming. I looked review up. It's a lot. The game just has a lot of issues at launch, and hopefully, I don't know if they'll be able to turn it around, because it's almost the same thing we were talking about off recording. It's just that sometimes the game launches bad, and that'll ruin the whole legacy of the game.
Well, I feel like the difference between that and like the bad launch of AoE 4 is that I think AoE 4 at its core is a really good game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know how I feel about Company of Heroes. I don't want to bash on Company of Heroes like that it's a bad game. But maybe it is very different, and I think maybe some of those fundamentals don't resonate with the RTS community as well, or maybe it's just for a smaller, more niche audience. I don't know, but regardless, not a good look for Relic laying off. I think it was like 121. It was over 100, and it was like 120, 130, somewhere in that range of their 400 some odd employees that they had. Pretty significant layoff, and that definitely coincides kind of with Company Heroes too. They definitely mentioned that by name. They didn't mention AoE. It's worth noting that Relic is not really a part of Microsoft, and that AoE is basically under development of Microsoft more than Relic now. Relic kind of helped out, I think, with some of the development there. So this shouldn't really affect Age really at all. But as far as
they tweeted an update.
Yeah, it makes me a little nervous.
Yeah. I see you say that about the tweet.
I'm a little tense, but we'll see. I mean, we've got Microsoft likely going to announce something about AoE 4 coming up at their summer game show.
Oh yeah,
that's Saturday, right? On Saturday.
I'm not sure.
I think the 11th. I'll check count. I think the 11th is Saturday. The 11th, that is next Sunday.
Next Sunday. Okay,
next
so
Sunday.
Now, or is that this is like in a week?
Yep, that's literally 1 week. 1 week. That's when the Microsoft.
We will be covering that next episode of the pod. I think this is we're coming towards the end of the season too. That's the other thing on my news list is we're coming towards the end of the season. It was extended, but we are coming up on that. By the time the next episode comes out, I think we'll be in the next season, unless there's going to be some downtime. Have they announced if there's going to be a new season, or it's just that this season's ending? Because I know a couple seasons ago there was kind of a gap between there, right? There was kind of some dead air.
I feel like there's a week between seasons. I think like ranked goes down for a week or so.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, because I played between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 5, and I feel like it's always been.
It was usually like a week. I think there was like almost 2 weeks during one of those where it was like a long gap.
It was pretty bad.
I think before 3, there was like a long gap. I think it was between 1 and 2. I think the first update they had to what everyone added in panoramic view, that was honestly the worst ending of a season, because it just ended and there was no updates by the developers at all. I think that was actually AoE4 at its lowest point. Was like when the first season ended, because there's really no one knew what was going on. It just ended. It was like, congratulations, you did great. Well, I've kind of noticed similar things moving forward. That there really hasn't been a lot of really anything from the devs of AoE and from Microsoft. I feel like this game, like we know we're kind of reading between the lines here, right? We haven't heard anything definitive in a while. I don't think there's really a roadmap for this game right now. I know some people in the community kind of want to see something like that, like at least some kind of roadmap. Give us some kind of an idea of, hey, we're looking to eventually add things in. So far, it's kind of, we're all just speculating. So for the most part,
yeah, I think the last roadmap that they had published ended with the Enchanted Grove,
and they haven't released anything.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
our eyes have since recovered since the Enchanted Grove. Tim, what were your thoughts on the Enchanted Grove? I just want to hear.
I mean, I don't care.
Didn't care?
I didn't mind it.
I mean, it's cool. I get it. What I really liked is the stag in the Enchanted Grove gave you 10 gold if you were Roos and you killed it. So that was pretty cool. But I mean, when it comes to the season themes and all of that kind of stuff, it's probably more so for the casual person. If they play single player games against the AI, maybe it's, it spices things up for them. When it comes to multiplayer, that map or that biome, there's a reason why it wasn't in ranked. Right. Yeah. It was it was so motley, and it was just, there was way too much. Like, I felt like I couldn't focus on what I was doing just because looking around, I was like, am I Alice in Wonderland right now? What am I doing?
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it was definitely something else.
I like the season themes. I think they can kind of keep going with it. I wish there was a little bit more of a historical background, maybe, to some of it. And I know for AoE, maybe if you progress through the seasons, you progress through the years and the centuries, there's new upcoming things. Because that's one of the things that I really love about AoE, just in total, the franchise, is the history behind it. So, I mean, they could lay into that if they want to. They got about somewhere between 800 to 900 years of material. I think they could piece something together for
They've just got 900 theme, right? years of material to go through.
Yeah, I mean, so much happened. Yeah. Like, so much happened. So I would rather do something like that, maybe, but that's just from a history nerd like me.
I agree, though.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot they could do. I didn't mind the Enchanted Grove at all. I enjoyed it enough, but yeah, it definitely, I saw the memes about everyone's eyes bleeding, and I was like, oh, come on, guys, it can't be that bad. And then I remember playing a game, and at first, it's really not that bad at first, but by the time you get to an Imperial Age game on that map with the Enchanted Grove, your eyes really do just feel like they want to bleed. Oh man,
well, what's funny is when I actually play this game or use any monitor whatsoever, even when I'm at work and I'm using a monitor, I have the blue light completely turned off. So because blue light's not, it's not. I mean, it's not the best thing for you. It'll help you, especially if you watch things like on your phone or TV or whatever before you go to sleep. It keeps you up just because of the blue light. It kind of resembles the visual light that the sun does on the spectrum, but the lack of blue light, and I remember playing that biome for the first time, and I was like, do I have my blue light on? Like, cause I'm like, my eyes are starting to get strained. Like, and I'm not one to complain, but I was like, I don't think I could do that again.
Wait. I think Tim's saying he's not one to complain
about that. Just about that.
I was going to say, in my introduction of you, TenFourTim, I was going to tell you that we have invoked your name so often on this podcast. Every time we bring up China, I think we mention you. Your reputation has preceded you.
I was going to say I'm like a celebrity, I guess, but even on EGC, when China gets played, I always am going to say something terrible about it, because the Civ is terrible. It sucks and I hate it.
It's I have a love-hate relationship with it, because I've played it every now and then just to kind of figure out what it's all about, and I get the appeal, but I don't know, man. There's just something about it. Like, it's kind of fun, but it's also kind of busted. Then I don't know.
And so these are my actual thoughts about China. I don't think it's overpowered. I really don't. The only thing that I really think is every strategy that they have is cheese. It's just not fun to play against. You barbican someone's face in Dark Age. How is that fun for the opponent? It's not. You get all in Zugnu rush. It's like, oh, that guy dragged his face across the keyboard and hit Zugnu 50 times and they won the game. That's not fun. Like those kind of strategies that they have.
Song, great.
Right. Like, to me, it's just not a fun experience to play them.
I think it's play against them, I should say. So much. They can do, it's like, where does Chinese not excel? Or at least not where they don't really have a really great weakness overall. Like, everything they do is just really good. Like, maybe they're not overpowered, but they're always really good.
And it's a difficult Civ to play because of that. Right. Yeah. So the people that do play China, I give them credit, but I would really wish they stopped doing that. But the people that do play China, it's a really reactive Civ. You got to know what your opponent's doing to give you an idea of what you're allowed to do.
You got to be good at scouting.
Right. If you're up against a French who's 1 TC all inning you, probably going for that second town center might be a little too greedy. Right. So it's just, I mean, you do have to be reactive. The scouting is really important. It's just, I think the fact that when I'm one particular Civ and I have a strategy and thinking about, okay, this is how I should probably beat China, the way they can adapt in what I like to think is a rather cheesy way, the way they're able to adapt and counteract your strategy is just, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, because you're already going out of your way to counter what they're good at, and then they just go, well, now I'm a different type of monster.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't. You're not a ditto. Like, you can't do that.
They're a ditto, dude. That's what it is. China is a ditto. They are the ditto of this game. That is exactly what it is. They can. You want to boom, they'll boom. You want to go all in, they'll play all in. You want to, dude. They're a ditto. That's what it is. We figured it out. Tim has graced us with this piece of knowledge, everyone.
I'm just full of similes, guys.
I think that's all of our main news. Unless, Beale, do you want to give us an update on how the 2v2 league went with Rising Empires?
Oh boy. No. That's not. I actually missed the last couple of weeks. I know our team, how we did, but I unfortunately haven't been paying attention to what happened in Div 1.
That's all right. When do the playoffs start for that?
Cut that out.
We'll cut that out.
Oh boy.
So playoffs have come and gone. Season 2 is starting very soon.
All right, nice. Are they? Wow, I can't speak today. Are they open to new teams and stuff joining? And do you know when the deadline is for that by chance?
Deadline.
Seems like that's also a no, guys.
Yeah, that's I'm scrolling through the Discord looking for an announcement.
I will say though, I actually joined a team. I'm going to be with in Division 3. I'm going to be with Dr. Dabston and B. Dot.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Oh, that's good.
That'll be a good team.
What's that?
What is your rank right now, Tim? Where are you at right now?
I hit Conk 1 in April.
Oh, nice.
And I've just played on my alt for the most part. Like trying civs, I don't usually play. But then when I get hideout, I just pick Roost because it's dumb not to pick Roost.
What's the name of your alt? I gotta know.
I don't tell anybody.
You don't tell anyone? Okay.
Oh, I like that.
I want to know.
People started to know it a few weeks ago because I sniped Ask a lot on stream. And because he thought I was somebody else and he was like ranting to me about it in Discord. and I was like, yeah, man, those snipers, like, they're just bad people, you know? No. And then he found out it was me. So I kept that name because it was Rising Empires related. So I kept that name for about 2 or 3 weeks afterward. And now I changed it. So if somebody goes up on ladder in that, I think my alt is probably mid diamond, like diamond 2 or something like that. If you're in that diamond range and you think somebody might be me, you call me out. I'll say no anyway, but you can try.
You can try. That's great. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and start our fun little interview with you, Tim. I wanted to say to Beale and Sir Nevels, if you guys have any questions you want to throw in at him impromptu as well, by all means, jump in on this. I just kind of listed some questions in just that I always think it would be good to ask Tim to get to know him a little better and to kind of introduce him to the community. I know many people probably know of you, Tim, already. You're kind of like a mini celebrity. I think we're all like almost mini celebrities in the AoE world, right? Like a little bit. Maybe we're getting kind of known.
I wish. I
sometimes get recognized for my podcast. Sometimes, it's nice.
I think I honestly think I'm just that kid that hangs around too much, but they're like nobody has strong emotions to be like, hey, get out of here, kid. Like they're just like, okay, you're cool.
I'm pretty sure
whatever.
that's all of us. Let's be honest, we're all at that level.
Yeah, I think that's all of us. I think that's me. That sounds about right. I'm like in every single stream, like, hey, what's going on?
I've played a game, a free for all with when Blade did one of those free for alls. I've been with those top guys, and I got quickly demolished. But I've defeated Blade once with some help. Rushing him as Malians because that was what I got. No, I've done it once. My call to fame.
Hey, that's pretty good. That's something to be proud of.
No, it was just a complete. Let me just rush him before he's ready. It was pretty fun.
Hey, good strat. Sometimes it works.
Yeah. We're all just trying here.
I know respect.
Dude, I was so mad. The problem is I don't know how to play them, and I got them. It was like they did like a wheel, a randomized like this is your civ, your sign civ. Or no, it didn't do wheel. It just did random. You have to do random, and you just got what you got. I don't like Malians though. Anyways, Tim, what got you into either RTS or Age Empires? Just in general, I want to hear your story with the AoE community.
Yeah, that's a good start. Actually, so it was, I can't remember what conference it was. I don't know if it was like the Xbox conference that Sir Nevels was talking about, or it was like E3 or something like that a couple years ago when they actually announced it. But this was like in 2019 or whenever they announced it, and I was super hyped. I remember getting AoE 1 in a cereal box, all the way back. And, because I mean, when the game came out, I forget what year AoE 1 came out, but I was probably still getting potty trained at that point. I was probably like 4. And and AoE 2, I started to play a little bit more, just like the campaign and just like playing it like City Skylines essentially. And AoE 3 was, whenever that came out, was the first time my family actually switched from dial-up internet. So that was one of the first games that I actually played online on the computer. And I did a lot of more console than computer, but when AoE 4 was first announced, because me and my older sister, we have nostalgia for the AoE franchise, and she told me about it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll check it out. And then I saw what was going on, and I started to play AoE 2 a little bit more at that point, and I was like, man, like it feels like every civ is the same. It feels like all these civs or it's the differentiation between the civs were negative.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this one civ doesn't get paladins, or this one civ doesn't get this technology. It's like, well, I mean, I want them to have cool, unique stuff. That would be cool. So, because I mean, obviously, when you're looking at medieval history, and AoE 2 is a little bit before the AoE 4 history, but in AoE 4, all of these civs, they're so different, and they're starting to branch out and do their own things, discover their own militaristic technologies and that kind of stuff. So I wanted them to show that, and AoE 4, I think, does a really good job. Even just something small like the villagers having short bows. In medieval England, everyone learned how to shoot a bow.
Yeah.
So that's why the villagers are shooting short bows, because they know how to. No other civ really knows how to, right? So the way they integrated it into the real history of it is something that I love, and that's what made me first not only start playing the game, but continue playing it once I realized, hey, I'm not actually that bad. Maybe I should keep playing.
Yeah, I actually had a kind of not just a little side. I had a kind of similar experience actually. The first one came out, I was like a newborn, but I remember playing 2 and mostly a lot of 3. I know that's kind of hideous to say, but a lot of 3 at my aunt's house. She had a computer and always had computer games. That's where I got introduced to Minecraft. That's where I got introduced to anything that's on the computer. She had that, and I remember going over to her house every now and then as a kid and playing Age of Empires 3 and playing through the whole campaign. I never was competitive, but that's fun that we've had kind of somewhat similar experiences with AoE. I feel like a lot of guys our age probably do.
Yeah, I mean, I found it like, I remember being a kid going to like my aunt's house who had internet and typing in like free games online into Ask Jeeves or whatever, and go into the MSN gaming zone, and it was like, try this demo of a game called Age of Empires, and playing like the Rise of Rome demo like over and over until I finally got AoE 2.
Yo, that's a good reference on Ask Jeeves. I haven't heard Jeeves in a long time.
Yeah.
It was one of those. I don't think Google was around at that point.
We're all a bunch of gaming boomers at this point.
We really are. I'm realizing it more and more. I made I was doing like a Sunday school thing for my church, and I made a reference to like Among Us, and even they just kind of gave me blank looks. I'm like, come on, that was like 2 years ago. But they're like 13, so they were like 8 or 9. Oh gosh, time flies. I feel old. Anyways,
I mean, I'm like I'm 9. I'm not necessarily an old person, but in the gaming sphere, I just feel like, oh my god, like, is my life over? Like, should I retire?
No, it's fine. That's why we're in the RTS community, not playing Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, man.
I don't want to be beat up by an 11-year-old.
That's funny you say that though, because like you guys all got started on Age of Empires, and like me, I always mixed up Age of Empires and Empire Earth. That's what I like playing my little brother growing up. Like I did not know there was a difference until like just recently. That Empire Earth and Age of Empire are different.
Yeah, I remember kids. I never had Empire Earth, but I remember kids at school talking about it and how like you could go even further into the future than Empires, and it started like way back before.
Way back, it was like cavemen. You could like age up all the way to like flying cars and lasers.
Oh my god! And
that right there, dude. That right there. Me and my brother, who also plays 4 now, Age of Empires 4. We would be on that all day, and like we didn't know what we were doing, but we were just straight up just. And like we probably had cheat codes, aging up immediately. You can start Empire Earth. I think is like, I don't know how respected it is in the RTS community, but I think that's where I got my start. And I played a little bit of Age of Empires too. when I was younger, like really young. I'm talking about when I think literally 4. Age of Empires 4 came out. No, 2. I was 4 years old, and I didn't know what I was doing either. And that was like my start in RTS, and I wouldn't even call that a start, to be honest.
Yeah, man. Thinking about cheat codes, it's games don't have cheat codes like they used to.
Yeah, is that a thing anymore?
Like it kind of is sometimes, but it's not as. Man, it used to be like cheat codes used to be like legitimate cheat codes that were like in the game that no one knew about. And then then there was like a phase where like there was like a designated here's a cheat code window you can type in your cheats, and now we're just kind of in that point where it's just like now it's just gone to dev commands. Like you just know the dev commands. Now you're like hacking into the game yourself and modding it. And
I remember the website Cheat CC. That was my Cheat CC was a classic. Cheat CC. That carried through like 90% of my story games growing up. I was a loser. I couldn't beat a game by myself.
This is really odd. I remember my dad was a Marine, and he did computer and technology and radio repair as an instructor back in the early 2000s, like 2002, 2004. I remember we used to have PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2, and we had this game called Gauntlet. And when you made your character, you can name it. And if you named yourself like Vaughn, you'd be invincible. Or if you named yourself Egg 911, you'd turn into a chicken and start shooting little chicken attacks. I remember my dad like knew all these cheat codes and would tell us them to play them. Man, I love those kind of things. Those are the kind of things that you just don't get as much anymore. Like you just don't get those little Easter eggs. In
elementary school, the best part about the Scholastic book fairs was getting the big
yes.
Like that and a copy of the Guinness Book of World Records.
Those are the two best ones.
I didn't actually read. That's why I looked at it. That's why I actually went there to get those two things, pretty much. Books,
I didn't actually read.
I've had that thought. Like,
reading's for losers.
Kids are going to learn to read just so they can play like Legend of Zelda. Like they're going to learn to read just so they can understand what's going on.
You got to unlock all the characters in GoldenEye. That's what reading is for.
Yeah, that's reading for. Exactly.
Gosh. Well, Tim, you were making us very, very nostalgic here, telling us about your story of RTS. I should have known that would happen. What made you want to start casting?
So that's a good question. And it was super random, and I never thought I would actually do any kind of casting or anything like that. This was over a year ago. I was playing the game just by myself. Like once I would play the computer, I did some ranked and stuff like that, but I wasn't really I didn't get into the minutia of the game or try to like min-max it or anything like that. But I was watching people because I've been on Twitch for years. Every game that I've played, I usually watch Twitch streamers because I use it more for education. I like to try to get better and use it that way instead of just entertainment. But I was on a Jesseology stream. So shout out to Jesseology, probably a little bit over a year ago. And I was working nights that month. And this was, I don't know, she was streaming at like 2 a.m. and I didn't have work. So I was just like sitting at my computer at 2 a.m. with nothing to do, like a real loser,
like
right?
A real degen.
Yeah. And she was doing community games and I was like, oh yeah, I'll sign up for a community game. And it was my first Teams game ever that I ever did. And my team actually won. So I was like, well, I'll do a little bit more ones and I'll try to figure it out and maybe I won't be too bad. And then Chewbacca 5, if everyone remembers Chewbacca, hopefully he's listening because shout out to him. When he started making the first Low Elo Legends tournaments, I joined the very first one. I remember getting pretty far. I didn't win it, but I remember getting pretty far. And I really appreciated what he did because he would just take time out of his weekend completely for free, for no reason, just to for other low elo people to have a tournament and have a good time. And I messaged him and I was like, hey, like you're doing great stuff and I really appreciate it. I look forward to the tournaments and stuff. And he was like, hey, do you want to come on camera with me and actually cast, because he's doing the admin stuff in the background. So his casting would get a little choppy, and I was like, yeah, sure. Like I'll talk while you're doing the actual work. I don't care. So it was probably like an 8 or 9 hour tournament. And at the end, he told me, he was like, man, you really know how to talk. And I've never heard anyone compliment me in that such a way.
Normally everyone just says shut up, huh?
Yeah, right.
Shut up, come on.
But I mean, I have to talk. Like it's part of my job. It's what I do every day. So that was my first little taste of it. And I would also be around on Dr. Dabson's channel. I think I'm Dabson's longest sub at this point. This is the only thing I really take pride in for the AoE4 scene, is that I'm Dabson's longest sub. And he asked me randomly in DMs. He's like, yeah, I'm going to cast some Warchief Club games if you're down. This was before Rising Empires. And I casted with him, and Attico DM'd me and said I did a really great job casting it. Then I was like, you know what? Maybe I could just keep doing this. It seems like a lot of fun. And here we are.
Now you're casting for EGCTV, getting into the big spotlight now. We're very proud of you, Tim. We're very proud of you.
Well, I appreciate that. But I mean, a year ago, I was just some random degenerate at 2 a.m. playing a community game. Like I'm nothing special, you know?
It's funny.
I mean, you're talking to the guys who started a podcast for this game just because we thought we wanted to listen to something like this.
Right.
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
Just having all of us, even I feel included as a guest, but just having all of us BS together, you know, on a Spotify channel. I'm pretty cool. I'm going to be on Spotify.
And like, Tim, to your credit, like you've also sort of, I feel like you've paid it forward too. Because I've got a really similar story of why I kept playing Age of Empires 4 and why I got into casting was like coming back into AoE 4. I had it on launch and then played it for two weeks and just dipped out because it wasn't that much fun. But I saw a post on Reddit last end of August about a low Elo Legends tournament. And I was like, you know what? This could be fun. I've never played an RTS in a tournament setting. And so I signed up and had a bunch of fun. And casting that day, it was Tim and Moketronics. And, you know, after the tournament was done, watching the replay back, seeing one of my games actually casted, kept me going in this community.
You know, that was one of the things, and I'm really glad you shared that story because it actually means a lot that you did. Those stories that's kind of why I wanted to keep doing it, because I told when I left Rising Empires a few weeks ago, and when I told you guys about it or why I was leaving or all that kind of stuff, the reason why I stayed for as long as I did is because when I actually won one of those low Elo Legend tournaments, you always like, when you're like a kid and you're like 4 or 5 years old, I'm going to go back to nostalgia again. Sorry. But when you're like 4 or 5 years old and you're like, man, like I just want to sit and play video games all day. And like, that's my job. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to play video games because you're 5 years old. You don't know any better. And when I actually won one of those low Elo Legends tournaments, Shu gave me like $10, whatever the winner was. But in a way, it kind of made that dream come true. You know, I mean, it's not something I obviously can't sustain a living off of low Elo Legends tournaments. That's not the point. The point was that little 4-year-old actually had his dream come true. And that's what I wanted for other people to do too. Neat. So for Beale to share that story to me, that makes me feel like the work that you do at Rising Empires, because it's all volunteer work. And I used to greatly appreciate when everybody would take time out of their weekend. They could be doing literally anything else. But to me, when they spent that 8 hours casting or hosting or adminning or whatever the case, they're taking time out of their day to maybe help someone else's dream come true. So that's why I loved being there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember, I feel like we've all had very similar stories at this, you know, because I think my first cast was actually with you, Tim. I don't remember how that even came about either. I think they just needed someone to help co-cast. And I was like, hey, I stream. I've been trying to get into streaming a little bit more. I've got a microphone. I've got stuff. I bet I can hop in and help out. I don't know what I'm learning the game still. And I remember hopping in and that was just a ton of fun.
Well, you know what it was? It was the show match with Beale. Yeah. Yeah. It was the Beale and Road show match because Socerton, you played them a decent amount on ladder.
Oh, that's right.
And
I knew about them.
And I was like, you can give me some extra information and this will be really good. Just to give a little bit of background information, create the narrative of a show match, because I mean, no offense, Beale, I hyped you up, so now I'm gonna bring you down a little bit. For the show match, I'm thinking in my head, because I was fronting the money to actually do it, I was like, well, I mean, these are 2 random players. Like, how are we going to get people to actually care about it? And if you learn about the people, right, you start to create a narrative of these 2 rivals just button heads in low Elo tournaments all the time. And we have an insider here who knows about these guys, you know, maybe maybe they know what their families are like. You know what I mean? Just like really really like inside stuff to spin a narrative and make a great show match out of it. And I don't know, just in terms of viewership, I don't know how much it was just because it was a while ago, but it definitely lived up to expectations. It was probably one of my favorite things to cast to this day.
That was a lot of fun. I've had that was a fun time. I remember Beale being the fledgling player he was. Man, we were all so terrible at like Gold 1.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about how do you build up a show match between 2 Gold 3 players?
I mean, it's a tall task.
Yeah.
but really, I mean, you guys, just because whether you're Gold 3 or Conqueror 3, like, it's still 2 evenly matched players butting heads in a game that the people that are watching love. And maybe they can relate to you guys with the games that you play. That's kind of one of the things that I wanted to do when I was casting low elo legends is tell, like, say people, hey, if you're a low elo player, I even do this on EGC, even though there's a bunch of people there who I don't know what the skill level they are. But if you're a low elo player, these are the things he's doing, but these are the things that might make it even a little bit better. When I first started casting with Chewbacca, we would just like rag on people consistently and like literally like to the point, like make fun of them to the point where I was like, I don't think these people are coming back. Like that was pretty bad watching the VOD, but some people loved it. They had so much fun. They're like, yeah, I love getting, clowned on for a little bit.
I remember Ask the Lad getting so mad at me when I was English rushing into HRE, and he's like, why isn't Socerton doing it this way? Why he didn't know it was Socerton. He said Socerton back then. Like, why is he doing it this way? And he was getting so mad. I watched the VOD backward. I won the game, but he was like, he shouldn't have won. This is not right. Like, he was so mad that I had beaten this guy. And I think that was the week I might have won. I don't remember. It was a while ago now, but that was, yeah. I think that's such a great thing because personally, watching I love watching 3DB take on Beastie Cutie. That's a fun matchup. But I don't learn much from it. They're playing at such a high technical level. I can't mimic their APM. I just can't. Like I can look at their like macro, but I can't do some of the little micro things that they're doing. I can, if I do, my country in the background is going to be in flames and I'm not going to have enough food. Start mass starve it. It'd be bad. It'd be bad. But like
you're exactly right. Sometimes I do that with my micro too, especially when I'm playing French, because I have 2 different knights with 2 different scouts and I'm making sure they don't die, and I mean, I'm not the worst player in the world, but I'm certainly not the best. And my APM is pretty, I would say, a little bit on the lower side compared to most people on Conqueror level. So when I'm doing that and you have some other fight going on where your 2 knights aren't there, but you're still trying to raid with those knights at the same time, it's like, yeah, I can do that if that's the only thing I have to do.
Yep.
But it is not.
Yeah, exactly. My micro can be excellent when that's all I'm doing. But the nice thing about like low elo legends is that you're watching players at your skill level. So the critiques that they're giving them are critiques you can actually incorporate into your gameplay. And I feel like I learn more watching that than I do watching top tier play sometimes. And obviously you can learn from anything, but like sometimes I think that's almost more valuable.
And I think for the low elo people, even the ones that like Beale and you, who I brought over to Rising Empires to start casting, I think for you guys, even just watching those games, and I'm basically buckling you to a chair and you have to watch low elo games for 8 hours and talk about them. But it's going to make you better because you're immersed in the game for that long. And I hope it did.
I think so.
For sure.
Look at Beale, man. He's pushing diamond, Beale.
Sitting there bouncing back and forth. I just haven't had that much time to play past couple of weeks. But every time I do cast low elo legends, I feel like the best player in the world afterwards. I would never make that mistake. Oh my God. Like I should be at least conk 1.
Dude, I'm totally a conk. I'm a conk in spirit all day.
All day.
Everyone is. Whoever's listening to this, don't worry. You're a conqueror in your heart. You're a conqueror
running in your heart. You see and you know. It's easy when you can see the entire map and jump between and not be pressured, and it's not you losing troops.
And then I sit down and play, and it's just like,
wait, okay. No, I'm a plat 1, maybe plat 2 on a good day. Okay.
Don't know how to click around. Okay, I don't have the dexterity, the click anymore.
Tim, how do you feel about the game right now, and what do you most hope to see in the future?
Well, okay, so
obviously Malians are broken.
Right. Let's just say I'm excited that there's going to be new changes. in a couple weeks. I think it's not necessarily in a bad state or anything, but you have 90% of the civs that are doing well. In an RTS in an RTS game where that 10th civ is still around and exists, the rest of the 9 civs have to adapt to that 10th civ. It's almost like if you're playing a card game, if anyone's familiar with Magic or if anyone's familiar with Hearthstone or anything like that, if there's one piece of broken material in the game, the meta has to shift around it. And when you have something so warping, it makes for a bad experience. And maybe the reason why I haven't played too much after I hit Conqueror is because the civ that is broken, which is Malians, the civs that I like to play have terrible matchups against Mali. So I'm like, well, if this civ exists, I don't really want to queue up. You know, it's not like the Elite Classic that's going on right now where everyone bans Mali. You can see when everyone bans Mali, and if you guys have been watching over the past couple weeks, there's been fantastic representation of every civ in that. You could see literally every single civ play. You see a lot more French because Mali doesn't exist, right? So I think if they make those changes, and we'll get into it a little bit more. I know at the end of the interview, you want to talk about the game and what we want to see a little bit afterward, but if they make some of the changes, maybe they add a little bit more, I think it'll be a little bit better. But for adding things to the game, even though I haven't mastered all of the civs that are there, and to be honest, I don't think I've mastered one civ, but for all of the people, they might not have the experience to play or the time to play all of the civs and really know what makes them tick. So I don't feel like I'm in a position to ask for new civs, but the Eastern Roman Empire and the Byzantines, they have to be in this game. Like the time period that's here. And they could make the best campaign that AoE 4 has to offer. Picture this, the Eastern Roman Empire comes into the game, right? They get their all unique units and probably more stuff about history that I don't necessarily know, but you can follow Byzantines through things like the Crusades. You can follow the Byzantines throughout, any kind of their territory, whether being expansionary or collapsing. And then at the end of that campaign, instead of being the Byzantines, you're the Ottomans and you're sieging Constantinople as the last mission in the campaign. That would be insane. The campaign writes itself.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And, there's some positions open at Relic, I hear. If you want to get in there.
I see. Yeah, I know. Well, first of all, because I didn't get a chance to say it, but thoughts and prayers to all those people that actually did get laid off from Relic. And
yeah, that's rough.
If you were, you told me if there was like 400 and if there's 400 people that usually work at Relic, 120, that's 30% of their staff they just laid off. So I hope that those people aren't struggling and they're able to find it. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where I don't really get laid off or anything like that. So for those people, I hope they are able to get back on their feet. But again, like Byzantines, come on.
Yeah, I think our top civs,
it's too easy.
I think our top civs that we've been thinking about, we did an episode a couple weeks ago about what we wanted to see added in. I think Byzantines was one of the ones. I think Japanese, and then like Nordic, like Viking, like maybe like the Danes. I think those were our top 3 that we were kind of hoping for, and maybe like an Aztec one in the future too. But those, there's so much room for this game to grow.
I could see the Nords with like a Berserker unit, kind of like how they do it. I know AoE 2 they do have a unique Viking melee unit, but for AoE 4 maybe you can make it for how many tiles it goes. It actually increases attack, like kind of like a charge kind of thing. It almost like builds up. So for each tile, maybe it adds an extra 3 attack to their first melee attack or something like that. There's a lot more avenues to this game that are yet to be explored that I think can be good mechanics that aren't necessarily things like passive income, which I don't think is a good mechanic personally.
Yeah. We're looking at Malians again, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. In a game that's so surrounded about income and eco and managing eco, having something that's that passive. I mean, because even like with like HRE, at least you have to go get the relics, at least you have to go get them. Like there's a play there. Tim, what other games do you enjoy? I mean, obviously we all have kind of our secondary games. I mean, Beale's known for playing Oblivion. Sir Nevels, I know, is playing Hogwarts Legacy, and he'll play a couple other games. I play some my baseball game that you enjoyed yesterday, I think, Tim. What other games do you do?
That was so much fun. Watching you play baseball. Talk about nostalgia. So for everybody who doesn't watch Socerton play Super Mega Baseball 4, it's a lot of fun. It helped me relive because I was a pitcher in high school. So it helped me relive some of that nostalgia. And Beale's Oblivion streams are obviously top.
They're always so good.
I just love Beale, even though just your reactions to things. I'll get to the answer to this question in a second, but for your reactions to things that happen in Oblivion, even just like I didn't remember how bad the characters look in that game. and how pixely these I don't even know, like these humanoids, like they're just not. It's so funny, their face, especially when you're persuading. Oh my god, the facial expression,
their smiles scare me.
It's so funny. Okay, but anyway, games. So for people, I guess I can give a little bit of a background. So before, I always played video games, and as an American, everybody plays FPS games. So that's what I did a lot in grade school and stuff. But when I started at about 14, I was a poker player for about 10 years. I did that. I stopped playing a little bit before, I'd say probably into my first year of medical school, I would say. And then I switched to Hearthstone just because it was another card game. It kind of scratched that itch. But for people that do know me, you know that I play Civ 6 a lot, and I have over 1,000 hours in Civ 6 right now. I really enjoy 4X games, so I played Civ 6 and 5, and now I'm experimenting into Age of Wonders 4, which is not necessarily anything historical. It's more of a fantasy kind of thing, but it's still 4X, and I enjoy it. It's something that, because RTS is always so constant and you have to be doing so many things at once, and it's mentally taxing. Usually for those 4X games, you can sit down, you could take a turn. There's sometimes I take a turn and then I go take a shower and then take another turn afterward. It's a nice relaxing thing when your mind has been stimulated all day and you're like, you know what? I don't want to think anymore.
That's neat. Yeah, actually, you hit on something about Age of Empires 4 that we're going to talk about in our main discussion topic today, about kind of how we don't play this game for fun necessarily. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think Sir Nevels brought it up a couple weeks ago in a past episode. Might have been in one of his extra sheets. I've been thinking about that so much, Sir Nevels, about how we don't play Age of Empires because it's fun per se. We do it because it's rewarding. Like, I don't play this game. Like, it's so mentally engaging. And there is something that we get out of it, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's like a casually fun game, but there's something to it. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Definitely not. You'll get there.
Tim, now that you're with EGCTV, we want to hear a little bit about the inside scoop. What is it like working with them? What is it like? Give us some behind the scenes on that.
Oh, you want the secrets?
I want the secrets. I want to know. I want to know. Yeah.
All right, everybody who's listening, get your notepads out. I'm going to tell you exactly how they run. No, no, honestly, it's been so amazing working with those guys. They're so professional. They're so streamlined. I talked to Pesty for the first time yesterday, after my EGCTV 2 cast yesterday, and he actually just thanked me for doing it, which I did not expect. I was like, oh my God, I'm so fired. Like, he's going to beat me. I don't know what's happening. But no, he said, that we did really well. And I think they're just appreciative that the second stream is getting the amount of viewership and love that it has. And I mean, obviously I would love to do things like the A stream, but just being a part of EGC in general is a blessing. Like, I've never expected to be in this position where I'm casting for it, because these are the S tier. These are the biggest AoE 4 tournaments that we have. And for me, I just want to give the people the show that they deserve when I'm casting. So a lot of times when I'm even back in Rising Empires, when I casted, I always watched my cast back the day after, and I hate hearing my voice. I don't know how you guys put up with my voice. I hate hearing myself, but you gotta go through it. You gotta be like, well, you know what? The things that I said there, I stammered there, or I whatever. I do the best job at beating myself up.
Oh, dude, you're in light company, my friend. You are in light company. Yeah. I know I've done the same. I'm sure Beale's probably done the same. We think we've all watched our own stuff before and been like, oh man, I really missed that call, big time. That was horrible.
And it's, I mean, even just with my job too, you got to realize we're all humans. It's it's the paradox of the human ambition, striving to be perfect, but never getting there. But the people that work in the background at EGC, like Lord Petito and Liticor when he's not casting, they absolutely, and I know people thank them, during tournaments and stuff, like during streams, but the work that they actually put in behind the scenes is unparalleled. They make everything look so professional and fantastic. I feel coming for something like Rising Empires, where if you're on the mainstream, you have to do everything.
Oh, it's so stressful. It's so stressful.
Yeah. Having a couple people in the back, knowing that they have your back while you're doing things, they'll give you cues and be like, hey, you can take a break now. We're waiting for the next game to set up, or the game is launched. You can go into it. Just like those like little keys that keep the cast going in a streamlined fashion. It just, I feel spoiled at that point. And I think it's so awesome how the AoE4 community embraces things like new casters, because you see a new face and you're like, this isn't Drongo. I don't care about this person, and I thought it was going to be like that, because it was a little nerve wracking to start, because I don't really have I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have a Twitch that I stream on. The last time I streamed was October. So just because of lack of time throughout the week. And during the weekends, I would do Rising Empire stuff. So there wasn't really any time to do personal things. But the AoE community, like they thanked me after the cast, like in chat and all of that kind of stuff. And I can't thank everybody enough for the opportunity that I'm actually getting. I still feel like I don't deserve it,
That's awesome. That's so cool to hear, Tim. I feel like most of us here are kind of like behind. I feel like your kind of journey through this, in some ways, like we've kind of almost followed you through it in a way, right? Because I mean, you started casting with Rising Empires. Now I think Sir Nevels, you're going to start casting now with RE as well, right?
Yeah.
Like all of us have ended up on our Rising Empires now and are getting in on that and casting. We're all kind of following the shoes. Maybe when Tim moves on to greater things, maybe EGCT will look at Beale and be like, hey, yo, we want that guy on our team too.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
I could see it. That's so cool though. That's way cool that you're there. And I definitely think, I know you probably feel that imposter syndrome like we all do. I know I'm a creative by trade. I work as a graphic designer and videographer for a rural hospital out here. And I feel the imposter syndrome 100% in like everything I do, even this podcast. Like sometimes I'm like, man, I'm such a poser. Look at me, like using Discord to record this. Like I'm a poser. Like, yeah, I've got the Adobe Creative Cloud, but we're just making things just go as we go. But I think you've done a great job, Tim. What are your hopes? Last question before we go to a break. What are your hopes for your casting and for the game, and just what you hope to see yourself do in the future?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a really good question. And it's kind of the age-old job interview question. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
No kidding.
And you're like, I don't know, existing. Like,
hopefully not on the streets.
Right. But I mean, for me, it's just a hobby, and I do it because I enjoy it. So as long as I still enjoy it, I'm going to keep doing it. And for people that, not just EGC, I mean, if there's people that want to have tournaments and they're looking for casters or anything like that, obviously I'm very open to doing that. I don't have, just like I said before, I don't have any kind of like I don't have a communications degree. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I'm just talking about what's on my screen, and people seem to enjoy it. So if they keep enjoying it, I'll keep doing it.
That's beautiful.
Do you guys have any other questions for our dear friend TenFourTim, Beale, Sir Nevels?
I was just gonna say, just to Tim, like I feel like I did tune in, like, dude, I'm like obsessed with EGC, so like, I mean, that right there is the biggest reason why I like I have these, like, it's gonna sound really corny, I have these like dreams of like one day I'm just like Sir Nevels going, like, it's like I know I'm not gonna reach that level, but like that's like in the back of my head is like, what if one day I got that good and I was in EGCTV playing this game? But one thing about Tim, man, I like when you're saying imposter syndrome. Hey man, like you earn that spot, man. You do a quality job. I was watching the EGC2 tournament, the stream. I don't know if it was yesterday, the other day, last time you're on. And yeah, man, like you like there's a quality standard there, man. Like just you see the difference in between, like, you might think yourself talking too much, but you're actually really feeling that dead air. And sometimes like that's kind of difficult, like just talking and keeping the ball rolling. So there's a reason why, when you talk to Pesty, he said you did a good job, and he said thank you, because like, dude, you did a good job. It's not like, at the end of the day, it's a mutual benefit there. You're helping them out while they're helping get exposure. And you know, like, yeah, I just all I want to say basically is like, yeah, man, I mean, for sure. I think you should keep it up, man. If you can, like, you know, anytime they reach out to you, if you can do it, man, keep doing it because you do good. You never know. You might, you know, it could turn into something that could be a little side hustle.
Well, I really appreciate that. And now that you're getting into the casting realm for Rising Empires, you'll understand, because you kind of hit the nail on the head there, where the intermissions are usually the hardest part for casting, because when the game's going on, there's a bunch of stuff going on your screen. Like, obviously you have things to talk about, but when you're in the intermission screen, you're waiting for a game to load in and you're just sitting there on camera and the camera's on you. You got to think, well, I kind of have to be entertaining in the interim. So at least, you know, create some conversation about the game or create some conversation about the other person, you know, crack a couple jokes. That's why I love co-casting too, because if my joke lands, I get instant feedback. Whereas solo casting, I'm just like saying jokes into the void, hoping someone, you know, slightly exhales out of their nose if they're watching it by themselves.
It's like a difficult thing about being just a Twitch streamer and you're just like chatting with your chat and you're saying stuff and you're like, I think I'm funny. My mom thinks I'm funny. Like, am I actually funny?
But then you get a couple lulls in chat and you're like, oh, okay, good, landed.
I'm awesome. We're good. I'm awesome. We're good.
But no, I appreciate the kind words, really. That means a lot. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, man, most definitely.
Beale, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or are we good to go to a break, you think?
Yeah, nothing major. Just want to just highlight again how cool it is, your path that you've taken, Tim. Looking at Low Elo Legends one day, playing in a Jesseology game to get yourself into the community, then get into casting, sticking with Rising Empires for a bit and going on from there. It's really awesome to watch like other people follow that path as well. Especially people who have like been playing in Rising Empires tournaments, how they like start from players and then they turn into regulars and get pulled up into like admin positions. I think it goes to show just what a good nurturing community Age of Empires 4 has, especially compared to a lot of other games where like you've got people who want to compete against each other week after week and actually start to build communities within the game.
That's what I think the crazy thing is, not just about Rising Empires, but AoE 4 as a whole. And I think it's just because a lot of us are older. Like, again, I mean, I'm 29 and I feel like I'm an average AoE 4 player in terms of age.
You really are.
Know? So like everybody, like we're not high schoolers anymore. And we don't do that drama garbage. You know, everyone's an adult. Most of us have families like Socerton, and they realize what the bigger picture is in life. So it's not just, you know, being toxic to somebody on the internet that you don't know, because my age old rule is if you don't know somebody, you never know what's going on the other side of the screen. So I usually don't BM people that I don't know. If they're friends, look out, because you're going to get it. But for people I don't know, I'm not going to be, you know, I'm not going to talk trash on them because maybe they had a terrible day and the only thing that's going to make them feel better is playing this game. And then I root for them.
Costs nothing to be kind. So, costs nothing to be kind.
Exactly. So the AoE 4 community, I feel like, I mean, obviously you get your fair share of it. Some people make posts on Reddit about toxic people, and they're always going to exist.
I actually enjoy getting those every now and then, especially when you beat them. It feels kind of good. It's like, stroke my ego a little bit, please.
And, you know, because it's rare. You know, like you're not getting that after every single game that you play. So every time you do get it, you get a little entertainment out of it instead of it just consistently wearing you out.
I love trolling them back a little bit and just being like, I love you. You're so great. Like, just like, oh man, it's so fun.
I love you.
It's real fun.
Man.
With them.
The best one is Dash, I think 0113. It has been a pleasure. Like, I think it's like the one emote, like I emote, or I don't even talk, I just emote. I just like put in the little taunts. Like that's the best way to really like strike back. But highlighting one thing you guys said about community. AoE 4, maybe RTS in general. See, me, I come from, you know, I don't say if I come from, but I grew up playing the dude bro games, you know, Call of Duty, Halo, and, you know, Gears of War, like, and those communities, I gotta call them out. Call of Duty community especially. The amount of toxicity in those chat rooms, it like when I hopped on Age of Empires 4 and the first thing I heard was good luck, have fun. I'm like, whoa, hey man, whoa, what's going on here? I think you're trying to get in my head. I'm like, what do you mean? Good luck, have fun. I will have fun. How about that?
Imagine
I'm
defensive over that. That's so funny.
Exactly. So I'm saying I'm getting nervous. I'm like, oh, you guys trying to get in my head? What's happening? And then they beat me and they say, good game, well played. Excuse me? Like, I'm like, what do you mean, good game? I got like that is insane compared to.
And you're like, yeah, but tell that to your mother.
Exactly. I'm like, let's tell you the truth. Honestly, I'm not as proud of it. But my first time playing an AoE4 online game, I was losing horribly and I was talking smack. I was like, oh, dude, all right, good for you. I'm talking crazy. And the guy just like, dude, just play the game. And I look back, I took a minute, top up the game, went to the bathroom, washed my face off, looked in the mirror, and I was like, who are you? You're better than this. It changed everything for me.
I really wish I had
You smack talk once and then had an existential crisis.
Exactly. My whole world
just have
changed
like
around.
Michael Jackson into my mind. Like, I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
Exactly. I was at war with that man. But I'm telling you, this community really is something special. Like just the RTS community in general. You know, it's a more mature community. A lot more respect. It's not an easy community. So really, you just being in the game and putting time into it and trying to learn it. It's almost like going to the gym. Like, you may not be the strongest guy in the gym, but the fact that you're there, people respect it. People look at that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, I just want to point out to just all of us here in our virtual town center and everyone listening, we've got a cool group of guys on this podcast right now. I mean, I'm looking at like we got Tim right now, who we've already just gone in depth on his career so far. We've got Sir Nevels, who started the Griot Bar, arguably the biggest current AoE4 community that's only AoE4. We've got Beale, who has been a mainstay at Rising Empires and the Griot Bar. He is everywhere. I've got this podcast I started with you guys, and we all stream. We all do YouTube videos. We've got a pretty illustrious group right here. I'm actually really impressed. A year ago, where were we a year ago with this, right? Just getting used to the game, right? So much has happened in a year. I'm really just kind of glad to know you guys. It's been real fun.
This is a wholesome episode. I'm about to tear up a little.
I know.
This is a sappy episode. We better go to break.
We're gonna go take care of our allergies real quick, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, I'm the popular streamer AoE4_hacks99. I'm the famous Conqueror 4 player. You bet that every game of mine you watch will be entertaining, and I will win. What's my secret? I'll tell you. I start by moving my town center to a better location, where I make sure to plop down a few hunting cabins to get started on food gathering. When I age up to feudal, I make sure I'm building a Farimbo garrison. You bet that this is the point where I mass-produce war elephants. With the upgrades from my military school, these bad boys are practically unstoppable. It's a fail-safe way to win. Unless, of course, my opponent uses the helpful information from moreknights.com. Their easy 3-step process cuts through my hacks and delivers me a real challenge.
www.moreknights.com is not responsible for opponents rage quitting, players achieving a rank that is actually too high for them to handle, or shouting equitests at random intervals during the workday. Players should be mindful not to unwittingly lose knights to town center fire, archer pilings, or spears. Please avoid all spears to keep your knights safe. www.moreknights.com is not associated with any hackers, millionaires, or anyone wearing a fake mustache. Please talk to your doctor before using knights. If you experience a game lasting 4 hours or longer, please seek medical attention.
moreknights.com for a best way to play.
And we're back. All right. Our main discussion topic's a little more loosey-goosey than we normally do. We usually are pretty rigid on a topic. Today, it's basically close to the end of the season. We've got 2 weeks left. We're coming into the final days, the death throes of season, what are we on? Season 4? 5? What is this season? 5. Season 5. That's right. Gosh, I'm losing track. So I guess we'll just kind of review what's been good, what's been bad, what do we hope to see changed, and just kind of our overall opinions on it. Maybe give some final thoughts. So we'll start with, first of all, what do the devs need to do to fix the Malians next season? Obviously, the patch has been working on that. We can give our thoughts about what the pup changes will be. Is it enough? Will those be added in? We're going to just kind of talk about them for a moment, because I think the big thing is at the beginning of this season, if you'll recall, I think Delhi had kind of a quick little heyday at the first week of the season. We were talking, we kind of guessed that Delhi might be the S tier season or S tier Civ this season. That was kind of our uneducated guesses. Things were kind of moving that way. And then Malians just kind of, because we thought Malians kind of got nerfed enough. Malians were nerfed. I'm air quoting this. You guys can't see, nerfed at the start of the season. And I thought that ended the Farimba rush. That we thought that was done. Farimba Garrison's done. Malians are done. Obviously, that didn't quite happen, right? Malians end up quickly becoming the best Civ. Most pros stopped playing them and still don't play them because it's just an automatic win on almost any map. So what needs to change to make that different? What do we hope to see change? I don't see Malians played very often at the lower levels. I mean, I'm at Plat 1 right now. I don't see them very often. I see a lot of Rus, a lot of HRE, a lot more French than I used to see as well. But in the pro scene, though, the Malians are just killing it up in Diamond and above. What needs to change? And I know, Tim, you probably have the best. You're up there high enough in the ladder. You probably know enough about what would need to change to make this better. You mentioned kind of the scout health regen is a problem with those warrior scouts, as well as the passive income. So let me hear your thoughts.
Yeah, huge issue. Those warrior scouts. I say this a lot in some of my casts because you can follow the warrior scout. It will, if you have the APM to do it, which is why it's very, very popular in the higher, like even above my level, like Conqueror 3 and all of these pro players, the warrior scouts, they're able to babysit them with the APM that they have. But the regeneration of 2, as of right now, it's 2 health per second. They take a hit from a spearman, or they might take a volley from a town center or something like that. You wait about 40 seconds and it's like it never happened. So that value that you're getting over and over again is massive, and complemented with the fact that they're only 90 food, and your food is not rateable because you're using a mill and you're using cattle right next to your town center. So you're like, well, if I stop their food production, maybe we'll get less warrior scouts. Not possible. It's kind of, it feels bad because there isn't really too much that you could do about it. And it helps them get to the point where they can hoard their gold because the only thing they need is the upgrade for the warrior scouts, which is 35 gold, if I remember correctly. So you can hoard your gold and get up to castle super fast. So the warrior scout gives you the map control. It makes sure that the opponent can't scout you, there's argument if they need to or not. They know you're going to go Farimba, but that death blow is the Farimba garrison pumping out those 5 of every unit. That whatever you make, and this is the big problem with the Farimba garrison, because you guys thought I was going to forget. You guys put Farimba in A tier. Oh my God, I'm going to smack you around for that.
At least it wasn't lower. At least we knew it was good.
Oh, if you put it in B tier, I wouldn't be on this podcast. If you put it in B tier, I'd be like, don't talk to me. But the really frustrating thing for Farimba garrison is it's basically 5 of whatever military building you want for free in Castle Age. The tempo swing for that, number 1, is massive. Yeah. Secondly, if they're pumping out, say they're using archers, which usually they do a lot because of poison arrows and all that kind of stuff. So say they're putting archers out and you're like, well, you know what? I'm going to make horsemen because it's going to counteract that. So you put 2 or 3 stables down, which also does mean even if you put 3 stables down, they're always going to have more archers. But assuming that it ends up being equal, they see the horsemen and they're like, oh, I'm just going to click the Donzo button instead. And then there's the counter. They don't have to make new buildings. So now you have to build 2 or 3 archery ranges to counter that. And then they're like, well, I'll just hit the javelin thrower button. And then you're like, oh my God. You're like, I can't win.
This is like those games you play as a kid where it's like, I hit you with my sword for 10 damage. Well, I use my magic blast for 30 damage. Well, then I've got this for 50. It's like you just, whatever it is, I can just say, oh no, I got the win. I win instead.
Like it's just that tempo swing. Especially that the warrior scouts are able to generate for you in feudal to set you up there. You can't beat it. If somebody does it right, it just feels unstoppable. So they need to, with the warrior scout regeneration, they are reducing it. I did pull the Malian pup notes. So they did reduce it from 2.0 to 1.5 in feudal age and castle age. I personally don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
They reduced the movement speed a little bit from 1.88 to 1.75, which is fine. It still means that knights aren't going to be able to catch up to them. Knights move at 1.62, if I remember correctly.
That makes them slower than horsemen, though, right?
Horseman's at the 1.88 still.
Okay, so horsemen can catch up to them, and
that's good.
They could pursue.
They can. The issue is a horseman without Bloomery in Feudal Age still only has 9 damage.
Yeah,
so they're just going to regenerate it. Right. So, and now with the pup, their veteran upgrade, once they go to Castle Age, you get the bonus damage with ranged units like how you do for the other horsemen. To me, I think that means the Sofa has no place anymore because you're using Sofa, and the reason why you do it with the imported armor is because of how good they are against archers. You know, they're this unit that is really, really difficult to kill. And if you're nerfing not only imported armor, but you're giving the veteran warrior scouts that thing over the ranged mass that you were using the Sofas to counter anyway, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to make Sofas anymore. They also didn't change the Farimba garrison at all, which, I mean, I think I kind of belabored why the Farimba garrison's I want to curse. I'm not allowed to curse. Why the Farimba garrison is upsetting to play against. Right. So, and they didn't make any changes to it. So until they start, I mean, they gotta, to me, I think that the Civ needs an overhaul, and maybe I'm kind of strong arming it, but if it's continuing to play like it has been with these pup notes, I think it's going to carry on to the next season, to be honest.
I wonder if they're looking to I wonder if they'll keep nerfing it. It's almost one of those things where I feel like they're going to keep trying to fine tune this and nerf it. Maybe you're right. Maybe at what point do you just rework the whole Civ? Because if they keep nerfing it, there will reach a point where, I don't know. The idea is that you want to nerf it until it's at that perfectly fine line between being not overpowered or underpowered, right? But maybe that doesn't even exist. What if they nerf it and then it's just either viable and it's overpowered, or you nerf it and it's not, and it's just completely awful, and there's no in between, you know?
And, you know, I hate to be like, oh, what are they? I don't like when somebody, especially when I was at Rising Empires, I hated when somebody came to me and be like, hey, this is not the right thing to do, and they don't give me another solution or another idea. Try to figure it out. Well, it's like, cool, I know what not to do, but I still don't know what to do, you know? So I think if I were to give a suggestion, and I'm not sure if it's correct or not, I would say the Farimba garrison, instead of making all of those units, can only make barracks units. As a garrison, barracks kind of makes sense, but able to make the Donzo and the Musafati, because both of them and the warrior scouts pretty susceptible to archers. So there's actually some counterplay there. That's the biggest problem, especially when you're playing an RTS game. When you're up against something and you feel like there's no counterplay against it, that's what's the most frustrating, because then it feels like you're beating your head against the wall.
Now I have a question. I have a question with that. So now you said just make it a barracks. What would make that different from the Burgrave? Because that's kind of how the Burgrave was.
I had that same thought. It does sound a lot more like a Burgrave all of a sudden.
I was thinking archery range. I was thinking make it like the Farimba garrison. It's just like you get nothing. You get the javelin throwers and the archers at 5 at a time.
I mean, honestly, one or the other. I think that's okay.
Yeah, there you go. I like that change. I like that change a lot. That'll make it. I think make it.
It'd almost be cool if you had like the option to pick one or the other at building it. That'd be kind of cool. Like you could. That way, there's still some versatility there. Then I don't know. We like to speculate on ideas in this podcast.
Now, if they did that, I'm going to extend on that just a little bit, because I like this. I like theory crafting. This is very fun. You build the Farimba garrison, okay? You have to click on the Farimba garrison, and then you have to click what you want it to be, either the barracks or the archery range equivalent. And then it takes time to research into being one of those.
That's like a cooldown. I like that. That's what I was thinking.
Just so you can't just pump out units 5 at a time as soon as you make it. It gives a little bit of time for your opponent to be like, okay, let me actually get my bearings before I have 80 archers barreling into my base. It'd
be like looking at like Abbasid's House of Wisdom. Like, okay, what are they going for? Are they going for like this wing or that wing? You'd be looking at, okay, they're going for Farimba. Which one is it going to be? That'd be fun. That'd be a much more interesting mechanic.
Oh, I like it. I hope someone in Relic is listening.
Dude, we've been saying that like for 4 months, man. Then I don't think it's Relic. Someone at Microsoft needs to be listening.
I like pretending like my opinion matters.
I know. We're like just shouting into the wind, aren't we? For those of you who are listening to this podcast, we appreciate that you guys care. We're glad you're here with us. Well, besides Malians, what are the top civs? Let's take a look. You got the see, Tim is really nice. He's like really professional. I like didn't make much of an outline this week, and Tim has like made my outline for me. I'm really, really glad. We're gonna bring him back, I think, sometime, because he's got the link right here. Let's see, what are the top ones? Let's take a look. See,
Oh, okay. Yep. Yes, sir.
I mean, this is for
Malians are number one. How about it?
How about that? Roos, I'm actually not surprised to see Roos at 54. That is a little, I think you can put this in the note too, a little bit inflated because hideouts in the ranked map pool right now. But even if it wasn't, I do think they'd be. I do think they'd still be in the green just a little bit. I think Roos is a good civ, and it had kind of a rough patch for a moment. I think it's just still. I think with the Kremlin changes, it's a good civ still.
Yeah, it's really good.
So I do want to a little bit just because of not only hideout, because you're absolutely right, and the reason why you're right, I put that note there too, so I appreciate it. But the hideout obviously, but this map pool, it just in general is pretty good for Roos. Like Mountain Clearing is a pretty decent Roos map. Highview we all know is a good Roos map. Roos plays well on Lipany. They do well on an open map like Dry Arabia. So Roos is a very map dependent civ. So if you're playing on something that's really wide open, doesn't have a lot of some of those forest, the wood lines, that you can really do, and they're good on hybrid maps because of their wood economy, right? Yeah. So it's just very fortunate that Roos has the map pool that they do. Now for the Kremlin, I know people talk about the militia and how the militia are so good and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not really sure if people have an understanding as to why it's so good. I actually can speak to this a little bit. I was playing just yesterday and I was playing HRE, which I really feel like is actually in a good spot, even though the win ratings for the Conqueror don't really reflect that. HRE is in a good spot. I like where they're at. I was playing against them. The way that the aggression you can do early for free is really, really massive. But moreover, it scales really well later in the game too, as you go on. And what this guy was doing, I knew he was doing it, and I had nothing I could do to stop it. It was kind of maddening. He was using his Kremlin as cannon fodder. He sent them in, take out I have my military, have to engage to defend my economy, and then he would send the rest of his knights and other units in to fight. At that point, my guys have already fought and taken down these little gremlins. And the ability to do that, to have a free front line, to just kind of buffer your military and give you some basically free supply if you use them right. And the versatility of that, and for the defense possibilities, it is really good. I was just kind of like, oh man, this is why it's S tier. It really kind of hit home for me when I was getting my butt kicked. And for how cheap they are, it pretty much is free. 40 food for two of these things. But you're absolutely right, because it's 40 food and you're paying for tempo. In feudal age, where the game, you can have somebody focused on their own base, because if there's an HRE player, one of the reasons why Roos has a good matchup against HRE is you can use those to stop something like a fast castle or create more idle time and kind of delay it a little bit. It gives you time to do things like wall up relics. It gives you time to do things like add a second town center if you wanted to do. And they can be defensive units to get that town center up for a little bit better. They're just, there's a lot of uses for them, and the fact that they instantly upgrade as you go from age to age. So one of the things that I like doing as a Roos player when I'm in feudal age, I'll call a decent amount of them. I'll go up to castle age at just about the same time. By the time they get to the base, the other opponent's base, they end up being castle age.
It's like Mario getting a mushroom right before going to Bowser, right? Like just the right perfect timing.
While they're focused on these castle age gremlins and I'm creating idle time, I'm behind getting relics. They just gave me map control for the minute 15 seconds I need to come gather those things.
Yeah. Beale, are you surprised? Beale, I'm seeing Ottomans at 48.8. Does that surprise you? They're actually right in the middle for Conqueror 1. Does that surprise you, Beale, about the Ottomans?
I mean, I haven't seen pros use them. I feel like there's a lot of ways, once you know how the Ottomans play, to shut them down. Because I'm looking at the matchups, looking at Platinum, Ottomans are way up there.
Yeah, they're way good at my level of play.
You flip to Diamond, okay, they bump down a level, and then you go to Conqueror, and they are now in the dumpster.
I wouldn't say the dumpster. They're just middle tier. They're just in the middle.
Yeah. But I think it's just once you know what they do, and and know how to play against them, they're not as great. I mean, one of the reasons I got into Ottomans was to use the military schools as kind of a crutch for not always being on top of my production. And I think that is something, if you give a plat level player, like, okay, I'm going to erase from like your mental load some of your production. Like, you don't need to think about it all the time, and you'll still have units generated. I think that's something that definitely benefits lower ranked players compared to when you get up to the higher levels.
That's a good point. You know, funny enough, Ottomans has a 57.7% win rating against Malians at the Conquest.
Yeah, I know. People talk about like Malians are so good. I'm like, no, well,
you think
really struggled with them.
Military school experiment may stop that, like that real. You know how the Malians have those houses around their gold pit.
Yeah,
you maybe could pressure that a little bit more with the Ottomans, and maybe that's why they have a better win rating.
I think the Ottomans' tempo and timing just really goes against Malians really hard. I mean, I think the best thing I've ever seen China do, the one glorious Chinese moment, that cheese strat that I know Tim just loves, and actually, Tim, you should almost appreciate this. It was a Barbican drop on the Malian gold, so they couldn't get the throw up. I support that. It was so good. I remember casting this, and I remember being just so ecstatic about it because I hated Malians, and I usually don't like Chinese. I don't typically like Barbican rushes. I kind of think they're kind of cheesy, but this was one of those moments. Like, yes, out cheese the cheese. I was so thrilled about it. I really enjoyed watching that. That was a fun day. I think that was my extra sheep one of these days, a couple episodes ago too.
You know, for me, that's like both of your high school bullies fighting each other. You know, you're just like, I hope they both get hurt. You know,
it's like watching Severus Snape and Umbridge go at it in the Harry Potter books.
Yeah, well, I hope it ends bad for both of them.
That's great. Oh man. So what do you feel about so I think as far as like where the meta of this game has been, what would we say the overall meta of this season has been? Minus Malians excluded. Okay, if we're just taking Malians out of the equation, people haven't been playing them because they know they're broken. I could be wrong, but I feel like at one point booming was the meta, especially with Chinese. 2TC Song was like the way to go, especially earlier in this game's run cycle. I feel like lately, it's been feudal aggression. Obviously the TC nerf happened a couple seasons ago now. That really took a dent to French and Rus. Feudal aggression's kind of been it, right? But has that been kind of feudal aggression? I mean, trade had a moment where trade was really big. I don't feel like trade's that huge right now. It's kind of fallen out of meta, even though I think it's still really good. Is feudal aggression it? Has that been the meta this season?
I kind of feel like just from like just looking at like each civilization, kind of like, you know, just, I mean, it's also, of course, it's, you know, different levels have different type of metas. But I feel like, I think you're right with feudal aggression, but I also feel like it's very heavy. It's not too much of a fast castle meta anymore. I think it's a lot more of 2TC's feudal aggression into castle. Because we look at it like maybe 7 out of these 10 civs or 6 out of these 10 civs usually go for a second TC in the feudal age. Even we played the game yesterday, Socerton. Like, I think like that's like a normal thing. I think for like a lot of civs, like English, you know, I see a lot of people just going 2 TCs, you know, into, you know, possibly castle, and maybe go 3 TCs with the King's Palace. HRE, I see a lot of games that they're getting stone early. Abbasid, of course, you know how that works. French with their buffs mid throughout the season, French are always going 2 TCs now. We know how China works. China, they're always going 2 TC Song Dynasty. Some people feel like if you don't go that, you're not even, no point in playing the Civ. Like and Rus, you know, like they had their build where it was you go Golden Gate, buy your stone, but now they kind of have it to where like you still go 2 TCs with the Rus now early, but now it's maybe even better now because with the Kremlin, you could just send basically, like I said earlier, like almost like this cheap militia just to go like basically harass the other opponent, basically free military while you go second TC. So usually a lot of times when you go, you know, you early pressure, you're delaying that second TC, which really you don't have to do anymore because with the Kremlin, you get a bonus of wood And you can just send them over to Stone too at the same time and get that second TC while you're harassing.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad you said you keep mixing up Kremlin and Gremlin like I do. That makes me feel a bit better.
Oh, did I say that?
I thought you said it. I do that all the time.
I might have done that. My brain.
I do that every time. I always say the Gremlin instead of Kremlin.
There you go. Well, like, yeah. So I feel like if you ask me, the meta now is. You got obviously, the Civ and Mali, you got, Mongols and, probably not. So probably I'll say it's a 60% 2TC into Castle, but in a lot of fighting in Feudal and kind of just pass the go. Because I play a lot of games now, and a lot of times when I play civilizations that go fast Castle, it doesn't really. I don't lose a lot of those games.
See, I'm not saying doing really good with HRE. HRE fast castling has actually been like awesome for me lately. I have been kicking trash against civs that try to go 2TC and try to go more passive. I mean, those who go aggression, like just full 1TC aggression, I've had some struggles with. But for those who go like a little slower, I feel like HRE's been in a good spot. Just going up to castle fast. I just feel like if you scout the HRE, like I played a game where a guy went like, dude, this guy went castle the HRE, I think in at least 8 minutes. Like he literally, he managed economy so. I mean, I've seen 730 before. Yeah, that's insane. Like, and when I see that, I love it. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Cause I know they have no military. I know they're probably going up with what's like, okay. So basically how it works is like, it's like, if they're going up with regnants, if you just wall off the relics, I say, go off the relics, that really slows down that fast castle push. And if you you already know they're probably gonna go mid-arms. Most on this level I play, like when people go fast TC with HRE, they're usually sitting out mid. They don't really go cavalry. Some do, which throws me off, but a lot of people I see, they go into Burgrave and they rush out mid-arms to get the advantage. We have no counter in Feudal, but really what I do, I see that I just focus on going castle. I make a dump load of archery ranges. So the moment I hit castle, I'm spamming out crossbowmen, and then like it just kind of throws them off. Like, I feel like the fast castle build is, I guess, besides HRE and Mali, kind of not the meta anymore. I could be wrong.
So
go ahead.
You had there's a lot of things I want to unpack for that one, but you are right. There's a lot of civs that kind of go 2TC. I think with most of the civs that I play now, it's 2TC until proven otherwise, essentially. But I would say for Delhi, they're going to stay 1TC. Mali, they're going to stay 1TC because they don't need villagers anyway.
Will probably stay 1 for a while.
And Ottomans, right? Because they're getting their
production. Probably Mongols too. Probably Mongols for the most
part.
Even
HRE, I think HRE is going to try and still fast castle 60% of the time.
Really? I think if the HRE is going to fast castle, obviously it should be a matchup where they should be doing it, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
If they do go on a 1TC fast castle, their payoff, the reason why they go fast castle and the reason why the other civs go 2TC and feudal is because you're going to be losing economically if you don't. So the reason why Mali stays on 1TC is they get all the resources for, they don't need villagers anyway. They get all the resources for free, so they don't care. And they only have to worry about gold, so they don't have to worry about the other 3 resources, so who cares? For Delhi, they get their economy in terms of sacred sites. Right? So they don't have to build the second TC. For the Ottomans, they get their economy in terms of free units. So they don't need to build the second TC. For HRE, they get them by relics. So usually for people that do the FC, they're going to do Regnant's Cathedral and they're going to get relics out. So you're exactly right with talking about walling relics. I know it's something that a lot of lower elo players might not necessarily do and you might not think about. Maybe you don't have the APM, you know, whatever. But you should be. You should be walling relics if you have the opportunity to. Because what you should be doing for HRE FC, again, I'm talking about in a vacuum, but what you should be doing is knights in Fast Castle, because then you have the mobility to go in multiple different areas where the multiple different relics are, and you have a heavy hitting unit that can contest pretty much everything in feudal. So if people like the Burgrave strategy needs to have instant payoff within probably about 3 or 4 minutes of you making it. And if you don't have that,
on water, but
I love it on water.
But if you don't get that, you're so far down, like you're so behind. just on from an economic standpoint and militaristic standpoint, because again, that Burgrave, it's not a Farimba. You can only make spears, men-at-arms, and land snakes out of it. So if you were, they could easily counter that.
Yep, you're right. I think, like you said, if you scale, if you actually go to Fast Castle and you start making stables instead of trying to make a bunch of men-at-arms, I think that's a lot better. Like, that'd be way harder to deal with. Get some knights on the field early, harass the enemy's economy, which distracts them from the relics. Like, I see a lot of people, at least a lot of players on, like, at least go, early plat, where they always just go men-at-arms because, like, they feel like, okay, there's no counter for them in feudal.
I've been going, I've actually been going I've been throwing in some horsemen and men-at-arms because I always go for crossbows. So I've been going like horsemen almost at times.
That also works,
It's a great effect to that and going for some siege. Like HRE's a fun
really
right now. I really enjoyed them. Yeah, they've definitely been my civ choice this season.
I think that's why they haven't got that many patches this new season coming up, because what's really wrong with them? There's
not
really
much, really. I mean, their feudal age is a bit rough. Their feudal age can be a bit rough.
Yeah.
I mean, their castle age, they have the fastest castle I know of. I don't know if anyone can get up to castle faster than 730 other than HRE.
Maybe what was Malian's times at the time? I think Malian was getting up there really fast.
They had a pretty quick one too, huh?
Yeah, back when they were like the cows, what they call it, the beef. I don't know, but they were going crazy with that one build where they got Farimba and like maybe not as fast as HRE, but they're competing. And I think that's why also Mali was a huge counter to HRE. They still are, I believe, because of the warriors.
Everything. Malians are just awful.
Yeah, Malians they're just good. They're just really good Civ. And but I don't know how we got started, but I think who do you think has a better castle, HRE or Delhi? Because one counters the other one, right?
That matchup has historically in AoE4, that matchup has always been one-sided towards the HRE, just because their ability to get to castle age, and the Delhi historically really struggle with things like men-at-arms and armored units in feudal because they only have the spearmen, horsemen, and archers. Obviously, it's going to be different in next season, right? We're going to get the Ghazi Raiders.
That was so dope.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be a fantastic. I think that's the one downside to Delhi in feudal age. So I think if people want to play a feudal age civilization, you should probably learn Delhi.
Yeah, I am planning on switching from Ottomans over to Delhi, or at least have Delhi as a backup, just for the Ghazi Raiders.
That's funny because I feel like the feudal age aggression for Ottomans is pretty dang good too.
Oh yeah.
I just struggle against men-at-arms.
Yeah, that's true. Against HRE, that's a rough matchup for Ottomans.
Yeah, I try to go fast castle Ottomans against HRE.
I think English makes a rough time for them too, because English also gets early men-at-arms.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. What are we? So Beale, you're looking at jumping ship. Are you that Zagazi Razors? Did you play with that at all during the pup by chance, or just looking at the stats?
Nope, just looking at to have something that deals bonus damage against heavy units in feudal is something that I have this is nice. I'd like to play with that unit. It's mounted. It can move around fast. You can position it. That's great. And I mean, my preferred play style has basically always been heavy feudal aggression from when I first started playing as the French, and then I played like English all-ins after that, and then picked up Ottomans after that. So the Delhi kind of just slots right in there with my preferred play style.
It's crazy. Wait, Beale, you started playing French?
Yeah, back in season 2. French was the first build order I actually learned, and
same here. Pretty simple.
Serious. I mean, it's not a hard build order to follow. It's like, I'm gonna make knights.
4 on gold, a bunch on food, a couple on wood, make knights. www.moreknights.com, everyone.
Moreknights.com, baby. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Listen, French is back though. What's I gonna say?
I don't know. French is not in the dumpster anymore, but it's still not great.
No,
I want it to be. I understand, Sir Nevels. I want it just as much as you do. I like the French build order. I like French. I love their little equites that they say when they ride their knights. I like French a lot. They're not back. The stats don't back it up. The play style doesn't back it up. They are better than they were when they were in the absolute dumpster. Their dumpster is no longer on fire, but they're still not winning the race.
Okay, may not be winning the race, but when I say back, yeah, they're not back on top. They're not S tier anymore.
They're back to mediocrity.
Hey, that's all we're shooting for. Because at first, man, they was looking pretty rough.
For mediocrity.
We're shooting for mediocrity right now, man. I'm telling you right now, man, the French though, like the way it's pretty funny how the French they balanced this civilization. Because really, what happened was they kind of just reverted back to what it was. Like I don't think French really got. They did fix that one. I guess it was a bug. I think you told me, Socerton, like last episode, that there was a bug where they weren't doing any damage prior to their.
They would charge. It would take three hits after they would charge, and it would still take 3 hits to. Actually, the bonus damage was being weird. It was being weird. Now you charge and then hit, and they're dead. And you used to have bloomery to make that a thing.
Yeah, you don't need that anymore, which they get for free, but you don't need that. Listen, if French, like I said it. I think I said it last episode. Premium Civ for premium players. I'm telling you, French. Listen, don't sleep on them, man. Like they're not listening.
I mean, I've been playing them, Sir Nevels. I have been mixing in some French. I mean, I've been able to read English and a little bit of French when I'm feeling, risky.
When we played yesterday, man. Listen, dude, that game when you were rating my economy,
Who won that game?
Listen,
Did the French player win? No, I lost. The French guys.
Listen. I'm happy. I don't want to say it. I'm happy you're honest with the community. I did take that dub, but
I played off meta too, though.
I was sweating. My eyes were out of my skull. I was sweating. I was quiet the whole game. When am I ever quiet? I was quiet the entire game because I was trying so hard to win. But dude, I watched that game back. Towards the end of the night, man, you killed so much of my economy. That's what meant the French, man. They're
got to Imperial Age and I was dead. So guys, for anyone who doesn't know, me and Sir Nevels, he wanted to do a show match. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. He played English. We were on what was it, Dry Arabia, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Dry
Arabia. I went French. He went English. I thought he'd do a standard English thing. He went Abia memes. I would decide, I'm going to be off meta with French. I'm going to build 2 TCs right off the bat, and I'm not going to do a bunch of feudal aggression because I know he's going to do something silly. I really should have just gone all in with my knights, but I ended up keeping it going long enough. He got to Imperial Age, and I just couldn't get up in age fast enough. I just kept producing knights. I did raid your economy a lot, but I think English Imperial is very good, and it was only a matter of time. I think that game had been over for 20 minutes before you finally finished me off.
Because, man, it was a 2 TC build. That was the biggest thing. And he went
Abbey memes. You went 3 TCs on me. That was weird.
Hey, actually, say the truth, man. I didn't go Abbey memes. I think you thought I did.
Was it? I thought it did.
I went council. I went council home. But I didn't make any archers. Okay, my fault.
That explains it then. I was like, wait a minute.
Why didn't you make Abbey then?
Exactly. I should have, dude. Listen, man. I was a little confused. I was. Listen.
That was a weird game.
It's mine right here. Listen. This is right here. This is my strategy. If you don't know what you're doing, your opponent will never know what you're doing.
That's the American war strategy, right? Like
exactly. If you don't know what you're doing, your enemy will never know what you're doing. That's a spoiler of my extra sheep right there. I'll say that. So that's a bonus extra sheep right there.
Oh, jeez.
It was a good game though.
Yeah. What are we most excited? Okay, minus. I know Beale's excited for the Gazi Raiders. Minus the changes and hopefully a fix to Malians eventually. What are we most excited for next season?
New maps.
New maps.
Bringing Golden Heights into the game, which is huge. I hope that sets a precedent for additional tournament maps.
Yeah, now that Golden Heights is coming in, that's a quick shout out to Bitterlin. Actually, if you guys don't know who Bitterlin is, he did a lot of the maps for Red Bull Wallow.
Yeah.
He actually reached out to me before Red Bull Wallow, and I tested some of them. So ones like Gorge and Golden Heights, I tested. So I'm glad I'm seeing Golden Heights to come back because I thought it was a pretty fun map to play with. It's such an interesting dynamic how just because water is as dominant as it is, that 15% of the map that happens to be underwater is the most important part. It makes for super fun games to cast. It makes for super fun games to watch for people. So now that it's actually implemented, and hopefully we see it in in future tournaments as well. I know it's in a decent amount of Rising Empires ones like Warchief Club and all that kind of stuff, but big shout out to him because a lot of the maps that you see on EGC and he was picked up by the people that make Age of Empires for the maps that he does. He does an outstanding job.
Wow, that's awesome.
Hey,
That's
put him on staff.
Did not know he got picked up by them.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Put him on staff. I'm happy they got him on staff.
Well, Golden Heights has been a fan favorite from the moment people have seen it in tournaments. It's such a good map.
It's just so interesting. It's so interesting. You know, like you're never going to see on another map. You're never going to see a 10-minute Dark Age.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's I'm telling you, man.
There's just so many things, like the fact that the TCs spawn so close to each other as well, and that there's only 3 deep water fishing nodes in the actual pond makes it so you can lose that pond and still win. Like it's not as lose water, lose the game as a lot of the other hybrid maps are.
The timings in that one matter.
Super important, but you can still build an army and get it over to your because your opponent is just like one screen over. I don't know. A lot of interesting stuff on that map.
I'm also really excited for the new season. Team Voice Chat. I want to see all the content being created.
Oh, I don't.
I'm not looking forward to that. I am worried about that one. Yeah,
I'm a little worried too. I'm not gonna lie. I hope it doesn't taint, the AoE4 community a little bit.
I don't think it's gonna make a difference to me because I don't think I'm ever gonna do team games except for ones on Discord through the Gria Barra or something.
Oh yeah, shout out. There we go. But most definitely, I agree. I'm scared. I just think AoE4 doesn't need team chat. Like, I just feel like the typing is fine. Like, I feel like it works out just perfectly fine. I feel like it opens too many windows for too much toxicity and things just not going. I don't know. Maybe let's see how it goes. Let's just see how it goes. Because I mean, dude, you can't even say poo without it being blanked out. So imagine like,
whoa, watch it.
Whoa,
exactly right. Sorry, I know. Sorry.
On the podcast.
Sorry, I apologize. I got a little out of hand there.
The P word is off limits.
Calm this man down.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I forgot. I just lost it there. I lost it there. But I'm telling you, yeah, man. So like, I mean, the fact that you're literally blocking all these very innocent words and then you allow voice chat, like, whoa, that's a big step there. Are we sure we're ready for that yet? Because I already know
we would never be ready for that. Let's be honest.
I mean, I really hope it doesn't become a one rotten apple spoils the bunch kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I think it has an overwhelming potential to be that.
Yeah.
It really does. What am I looking for? I'm trying to think what I'm looking forward to next season. Honestly, I'm just excited for more content.
Yeah.
I think that's my big thing. I'm excited to hear about more civs coming in. I'm excited for the meta. I think it's definitely been a long enough season. I'm ready for a mix up again. I'm ready for things to feel a little more fresh. I think Beale kind of nailed it. More maps, that better map pool. I don't think the map pool in this game for ranked has been S tier by any means. It's gotten better. It's got its highs and lows. Yeah, it's definitely, it could be better. I definitely look forward to having more nights, or not more nights. Well, I look forward to having more nights from morenights.com. I look forward to having more maps, and I am glad to hear that. That's first. I mean, I'm glad we had Tim on because that's the first I knew about Bitterland getting picked up by Microsoft to do that for the game. That's huge. That's way
man,
cool.
He deserves it.
Yeah, his creations have been super good. What else? Is there anything else we're looking forward to? Or are we just running out of stuff to say?
I mean, I guess, it's going to be interesting to see if they actually, how popular Empire Wars is. Not really technically it's not really it's not my, I kind of like the Dark Age portion of it, but it's very popular for AoE too. And that's a lot of the tournaments are hosted. And there's going to be a Empire Wars tournament. So the fact that they're even implementing that in the game, I mean, it's good for the game overall. Not really my cup of tea, but and then it gives me hope for there being a Red Bull Wololo coming up. Because
the reason why I think it's better in AoE 2 is because most of the time for AoE 2, and I might be speaking out of ignorance, but most of the time in AoE 2, your Dark Age is the same.
Yep.
Your build is pretty much the same. For this, because there's 10 very different civs, their Dark Age builds are very, very different. You know, there's things like Roos, who you have that Dark Age minigame that you got to play.
Yeah.
You don't have that when you're in Empire Wars. So to me, I think it eliminates some parts of the game that I personally find enjoyable. I like the Roos minigame. I'm one of those sick psychopaths who actually enjoy it. But for, you know, and there's things like military schools. There's things like Vanguard Men-at-Arms rushes as English. You know, there's things like tower rushes as Mongols that you can't do.
There's even just
Empire
something
Wars.
there's even just something to like that. Yeah, personally, again, this game is so stressful after 5 minutes anyways. I kind of like having just a minute or so, like 2 minutes to get into the game, start scouting, start getting sheep. Like I can get into a good vibe or sometimes a really bad vibe if I don't find enough sheep. Like as a guy who has a podcast named after the bells of those beautiful sheep, I love just gathering those. I love having that, knowing a moment I've got a moment or two before I'm getting attacked. Like I'm not immediately thrown into the fire. I kind of like, I'm an older guy, I guess now in heart. You know, I'm in spirit, I'm an old man. I like setting up shop nice and slow. I don't know if Empire Wars is really going to be for me. I will try it out. I definitely will try it out and report what I think about it. But I think it's good. I think it's good that we're adding options. I think this game is good with options in the game. Like giving people the choice is I think always a good thing.
And I think also too, I mean, like you said, you know, like for the AoE purists, the guys that stuck around like us, the guys that didn't jump ship, you know, we like the Dark Age, but I think the Empire Wars, I think them just trying to implement that to the game, it's going to probably try to bring in possibly new players. And, you know, not everybody, like, especially for the spectators, a lot of people have, like, you know, the attention span, they can't get through Dark Age. They're, like, already, like, get on with it. Let's go. So, like, Empire Wars is a little bit more, I guess maybe a little better for people spectating it. And, you know, maybe people who aren't boomers, you know, maybe they're a little racy. And they're just like, I'm ready to start fighting. I don't care about this whole build up. I don't care about learning build orders. Because the only difference between AoE 4 and 2 with the Empire Wars is that, and I could be wrong, I'm pretty sure, but AoE 4, you age up in landmark. So, like, you don't even start in Feudal Age in AoE 4. You still start in Dark Age, but you just have everything there to advance super early, pick what landmark you want. Right. Because in 4, I mean, in 2, you start off in Feudal Age. Whereas in 1, you're still in Dark Age technically, but you have all the resources there to immediately pick which landmark you want and get it buzzing from there. Yeah. So it's a little different.
Is there, let's see, I had a question I was going to throw at you guys real quick. Are there any other changes we expect to see that we haven't seen in the pup, you guys think? Or any other big changes that you guys expect to see?
Maybe a nerf to Mali and passive income.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're hoping for the Mali and changes.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope, dude. It still looks like that passive. I think that passive income with Mali is just, I don't know the exact numbers of it, but they're just so like they can fight you with like they can support a 90 military with like 50 economy. It's like, whoa, what? They have like, you go to their base, they have no villagers. They've been fighting this heavy off of literally 50 villagers. And if like I played a game where the guy literally had like 100 military and like 45 economy because he had so much passive income. I'm like, this is insane. That cows going. It's just crazy. But maybe that's all. That's all I really think of right now.
Yeah. Anything? Anything else, or we can head to a break?
I think the dev team isn't quite done with the Keshik yet. For Mongols, I think we might see some changes there because for the Mongols, one of the things that is difficult to play with them is they're supposed to be this aggressive civ, and that's how they were designed, right? And obviously they have the Dark Age Tower Rush and all that kind of stuff, which is great. But Feudal, they try to skip as fast as possible, and there's a reason why. Mangudai aren't that great, and that's the only unique unit that they really have in Feudal Age. Now with the Keshik, it could propel something like a Dark Age Tower Rush or some kind of Dark Age superiority that they do that propels into a unit like the Keshik. And I'm not sure if what they gave the Mongols, either A, it's not enough, or B, it's way, way too much, and then Mongols become oppressive again, because it's a very difficult civilization to actually balance, because you saw how many differences in the towers that there were. And if anybody remembers back to season 0, which is I like to call before the rank season started, when people would just slam their main town center right in front of you.
Oh gosh.
If anyone got town center rushed before.
I've been town center rushed and I have beaten that opponent with it. I was so proud to beat them back. I was so
that's
mad.
really good. That's impressive.
That was one of my favorite games. I was fuming. I was like, "Oh, you did not." I was so pissed off. I won that game. It was a good game. Yeah, I feel like
that Mongol TC rush was the first time I made the Kremlin. That long ago.
Nice.
Even though the Kremlin didn't have all the stuff the Kremlin does now, I'll tell you what, against the TC tower rush really took them out.
That's good. I feel like Mongol. Here's a hot take. Here's Socerton's hot take today. Mongols were the old Malians. Malians now are what the Mongols used to be in the beginning of this game. Like I feel like they're the wild card, kind of like the wild card, different civ that operates completely different from all the others. And is just super oppressive in many ways.
I could definitely see that from a counterplay perspective, especially back then when the towers were easier to build and had cheaper wood and all that kind of stuff, or cheaper wood costs. The ability to counterplay it was very difficult because you needed to, 1, get up to feudal age, 2, put down an archery range, 3, make 3 archers, 4, put down a blacksmith, 5, get siege engineering, 6, make a ram, and it cost them 75 wood. You know what I mean?
Man.
So when I say it like that, you're like, yeah, that kind of sucks, doesn't it? But that's the counterplay you needed to take down a tower and do it effectively. But while you're going through the mental gymnastics to go through all of that, your opponent just hit Castle Age and is going to come at you with Castle Age Lancers. And now you think you got down a tower, try getting 3 Lancers all the way around your base. You're probably screwed. Right. So I could see where you're coming from. And I have half a mind to agree with you.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't think they're that way now. I mean, obviously, Malians are the new quote unquote Mongols of the last season or two. And they've kind of filled that void because I think of all the civs, Mongols were the most unique before. Looking at like just list of civs Chinese was unique, but like I think of all the civs, clearly Mongols was the most, I think, unique of all the civs that we had in the old pool. Now with Malians in the mix, I think they definitely have the most unique units. Everything just works so fundamentally different compared to every other civ. And I think we're seeing similar complaints. People complain about them. The complaints I hear about Malians echo to me the feelings of how people complained about Mongols. And so hopefully in a couple seasons, we'll have a new civ to, hate on. Maybe it'll be the Byzantines that are just completely cracked or something,
Oh, it's going to be the Danes. They're going to be crazy.
It'll be the Danes. Yeah, you're right.
It'll be the Danes. They'll be insane. They'll be like, all right, come on now. Really? We got 1 berserker who can kill literally a whole army of 50.
Here's a hot take prediction. The Japanese, if they ever make that a civ, will be the coolest civ everyone wants to play it, but they'll absolutely suck.
Hey, I'll go silver 2 playing the Japanese. I don't care, dude.
Exactly. You and millions of others. You guys will be like that wall of like Buzz Lightyears who all have the same opinion. Like I'll play them anyways. Like that's gonna be Japanese.
Hey, I had a question. We think the mirror match percentage is gonna be when Japanese comes out.
Oh, the mirror match percentage.
That's gonna be nothing but mirror matches for a whole season.
Yeah. Yep. Alrighty, guys. We are. I think we're really excited for the next season to come out. Hopefully the last 2 weeks are fun for everyone. I think we'll take a quick break and then we'll end our episode with our extra sheeps.
Hello there. It's me again, Socerton's wife. I am editing this episode yet again because I enjoy it, not because Socerton made me. So it's time for some shout outs. Outs. Yay. First, we'd really like to give a big thanks to Tim for coming on. It was a really great episode. Good time to chat with him. The boys had a lot of fun with it. Really glad to have your insights and all that you brought to this episode. So thank you. There's a few community shout outs that we'd like to give, like to the Griot Bara. Big shout out to them. It's an awesome Discord channel that was started by Sir Nevels. It's a great community to find other players at your skill level and find teammates, dive into team games. There's also weekly jousts and tournaments and lots of other discussions and threads about various things related to AoE 4. So that's cool. Go give it a look. Also, Rising Empires is also a Discord and Twitch channel. The Twitch channel hosts weekly tournaments. They have a low ELO legends for players anywhere from bronze to diamond, as well as the Warchief Club for those big bad players that are super good, unlike me who's unranked because I only play with Socerton. They talk about not knowing a bronze player, but here I am, lower than bronze. We are on Patreon if you want to support us there. We do have some things in the works for our Patreon supporters. There's a lot of content that isn't necessarily published because it's talked about during breaks or before the show starts or after the show ends, where the boys are chatting. My favorite one that I'm working on right now is the boys talking about 8-layer dip. It should be good. They're really funny. So why don't you head over to Patreon and support us there? I know that they're also talking about creating the extra sheep merchandise. So look for that possibly soon. Life is crazy, so we'll see how fast we get to it. But there you are. We would love to hear your ideas and feedback on podcasts. You can find us on Discord at Socerton on Twitch, where there's threads made specifically for your questions and your comments. You can also reach via email at socerton@gmail.com. Lots of appreciation for you guys and all that you do to support this channel. Share it with your friends, write notes and attach them to carrier pigeons, encouraging your city to listen to this podcast. Smoke signals to China about the Extra Sheep podcast. We really have a good appreciation for you guys. This wouldn't be possible without you, and the good things that you do and your support. Big thank you again to everyone, to Tim, to Nevels, to Beale, to Socerton for this show. You guys are great. Back to the sheep talking people.
And we're back. We were just having a fun chat about regional dialects. Before we get to our extra sheets, we had one more point I really wanted to cover. This almost was our main topic for today, but I didn't think it would go on that long to be that way. But this is a point I wanted to talk about. With it being the end of the season coming up, ranked anxiety. This is something Sir Nevels has mentioned a couple times and has wanted to talk about more. I've wanted to touch on this as well. I think we've all felt it to a degree. And I'm curious to see what we do about it and what we think devs could do to ease this issue. So if you don't really know what I'm talking about, ranked anxiety, have you ever been climbing the ladder? You maybe you're like at gold, right? And you finally reach plat 1. I think this is probably where it's the most common, or maybe diamond 1 if you're a bit higher than I am, or even conch 1. You know, whenever you cross that threshold that's been so hard and so elusive, nothing's worse than when you hit plat 1 and then immediately lose your next game and boop, you're 1 point shy of plat again and you're back into gold. So what do? You tend to stop playing ranked, right? You stop playing the ladder. You either do team games, you go quick match, you just stop. Or maybe you smurf, right? Maybe you have a smurf, you have an alt account, you do something different. I don't know if that's great for the game, but that's ranked anxiety. And I know I'm feeling it right now with my plat 1 right now. I had to really fight to get back up to platinum 1 for whatever reason this year, just because it put me super low bound in gold 1 when I started. I've been busy, had a kid, just couldn't really grind out the ladder like I normally do. And I think a part of it for me is because as far as the rewards go for the end of the season, you have to finish at that level to get the rewards. So if I want those platinum rewards, I have to end the season in platinum to get them. Even if I had hit, I could have hit diamond for all I care back at the beginning of the season. If I end in gold, I'm not even getting plat rewards. And so my personal take is the easiest way to fix part of this, at least a part of it, would be to have the reward system work that it just counts whatever your highest rating was and gives you those rewards at the end of the season.
I can most definitely agree with that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's, to me, that's kind of a no-brainer, to be honest with you. But I'm glad we are talking about this, because ranked anxiety, or just anxiety in general, to be honest, is something that I deal with patients on a daily basis. You know, so when there's for ranked anxiety, you kind of figure out for some people why you got to find the root cause as to why they don't want to queue for a game. If it's because of the rewards, there could be some different. We're not going to get deep introspective psychoanalytical, with this podcast.
Tell me about your mother. Tell me about your mother and her disapproval of gold.
Yeah, tell me about your childhood, man. How'd you grow up? But there's an internal reason as to why you feel anxious to queue up for a game. It takes a little soul searching to actually figure it out. And you kind of address that before you get to actually going through those ranked games, because for some people, it's not just the pixels that you get from being a difference between Conqueror or Diamond, or from being from gold to plat, like you said. Sometimes it's how they identify themselves a little bit, like if they finish, or if they get to plat 1, like you said, you lose, you get to gold 3, maybe they have the sensation of, you know what, I think I deserve to be gold anyway, and they kind of, they look down a little bit on themselves when they have that, and then they don't want that to get affirmed, so they don't want to queue again. Right. So, and I know just from my personal perspective, I mean, we talked about imposter syndrome during the interview, but for me, when I hit conk, I'm never queuing again, because if I queue again, I lose, I'll be like, I didn't deserve Conqueror anyway. And then you don't have that, confidence going forward. Could be just a personal thing, or it could be something that a lot of other people experience too.
I think we all feel that a little bit. Because I want to finish in plat. Like for me, like part of it is I want to have the rewards. That is a big chunk for my motivation. But there is that little bit of I want to have it be in my AoE 4 world. I want to see that I finished in plat. Like I am a plat player. Like that there is like something to it. Like, and I know I'll regress to gold 3 again, or maybe I'll reach plat 2 or higher. I think there is kind of an identity crisis about this game sometimes, of where you're at and how you present yourself to others too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, when you're talking in things like Twitch chats or Discords or any of those other people by the game, they're going to be like, "Oh, what rank are you?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so when you're in the AoE 4 community, you have a little bit of identification based on what rank you are. So if I tell people, because people ask what rank I am, I tell them I'm Conqueror 1, they'll be like, oh, you're a conk player. So they're actually going to take my opinion a little bit more seriously. Right. If you're, if I told them I was a Diamond player, you have the hidden fear in the back of your head where you're like, well, they're just going to think I'm a mediocre player and they're not going to listen to me or whatever. Because people love being listened to, obviously. So I think kind of it's very difficult to branch away from that, because that's the only real number, the real status that you can get in AoE at this point. So besides being, like a top 20 in the like world or something like that. Like, if you're so high up there, it doesn't even matter anymore. But yeah, for us plebs, like that's that ranked. That's kind of all we can get. That's all we can attain. Right. What I would say in terms of what to do about it, and even I tell patients this to do it, especially if they have a specific phobia, is go and fail once. Actually, like if you're having ranked anxiety and you're like, well, I just got to plat 1, or I'm queuing for plat 1, I don't think I could do it, whatever, just do it. What's the worst thing happens if you fail? I agree. You lose a game, so what? Does your life change at all? No, it doesn't. I had this experience. So just to give you background too, in my early 20s, I went to the gym a lot. I went to the gym twice a day, 6 days a week, and I did it for about 5 years.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and once I started medical school, it dropped off because, you don't really have a life when you're in medical school. So when I started going again, I had a lot of anxiety going, because I was like, well, you know what? I'm this really shrimpy guy and, all that kind of stuff. And I don't feel like I belong there anymore or any of that kind of stuff. But the best thing that I could have done is to go and fail, because then I walked out of the gym and my life didn't end. Everything was fine. I think a lot of people with this ranked anxiety and anxiety in general, it's a lot of fear of the unknown. So you can get in your head and you start spiraling and you think about the worst possible situation, which isn't even, or the worst possible to you, which in the grand scheme of things isn't actually possible. So just do it and fail and know that you're going to be alive at the end. And then you won't have that problem.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Beale.
I agree with that. I don't think I suffer that much ranked anxiety. I mean, I'll probably won't load up a ranked game first match of the day. Like I'll get warmed up with quick match, or if I want to play something a little different than what I typically do, I'll jump in a quick match. But for me with ranked, like I don't really care about the end of season rewards. I don't think I've customized like my nameplate or the TC center thing. That's not what's important to me. What is important is like the actual rank, but it can also come down to like how you phrase it. I mean, your rank is just like a snapshot in time. If someone asks what rank you are, I could just be like, yeah, I'm bouncing around mid platinum. I've gone from plat 3 to plat 1 back to plat 2. And I don't think like the fact that I dropped from 3 to 1 doesn't really impact me. Because then I have less anxiety going forward, because it's like, oh, I'm just going to play against easier opponents for the next couple of games, and I'll get back up there. That's what I found.
I think a snapshot is a perfect way to describe it, to be honest with you, because we know how variable ranks could be. You know, you go on like a 3-game losing streak, and you're exactly right, Beale. If you're on like the first stages of plat 3 and you lose 3 games, you go all the way down to plat 1 because of it. It's not like over a 10-game series you went 2-8 and then dropped, and how much it's going to take to get back up. If you lose a game, you get back there, and you know that because you bounce all the time. Everybody bounces.
I wonder if I remember seeing a graph of player by rank in ELO, and it was really interesting. It showed the graph that like the cutoffs, like you could see everything was very loaded. The third, you're more likely to finish at a 1 than you are a 3 on the graph as far as the ranks. And so everyone was like gold 1, everyone was plat 1, everyone was diamond 1, conch 1. Had a huge spike in like the little bell graph of like where people are on the spectrum of the ranks. And I wonder if like, I mean, Beale's kind of bouncing around in plat, but he's usually staying in plat. You know, the rewards don't change. Nothing really changes from that. The rank still it still has that platinum like logo that goes on there. I thought it was really interesting how people like for the change in the material color of like the rank really seems to get at people. And I know I feel that a little bit because I'm teetering anywhere from gold 3 to maybe close to plat 2. So I really feel the difference really harder. I feel less bad about going from plat 2 to plat 1 than I do plat 1 to gold 3. It seems how like that, like, even though it's like essentially the same thing, right? It's essentially the same thing, but there's that if the difference in it somehow that kind of, I think that affects a lot of people. Because looking at that graph, it's kind of startling how many people finish at a 1 level instead of a 3 as far as the ranks go.
I didn't realize that. Actually, if I can just interject here really quick, I apologize. All I gotta say is, first of all, is that this podcast, you understand, we scale. We this type of advice, like what Tim's talking about, just do it. That can scale for more than just AOE. That can apply to a lot of things in life. But one thing I'll say, I agree with Tim, because like I realized about you, Beale, and you too, Socerton, you guys playing your main accounts. Like that's very bold. Like that's what's up. Like I honestly am like, I admire that mental stability playing my main. I have suffered from rank anxiety throughout any game I've ever played in any video game ever. And how I think about it is like this right here. It can almost go down to the topic we talked about, is the game fun or not? Okay, this is how I look at it right here. RTS is not really a game really that's very broad to casual audiences. So saying the game being fun, you ain't getting to cuss the game with your friends and have a good time, free for all, but that's not really the basis of the game. The game is really about climbing and getting better and learning from your mistakes. You know, that right there is really what drives me to play the game. And like, you know, so saying fun is a crazy word, but I think more so satisfying, rewarding. And the rewarding aspect of the game, if you click on your profile, it shows you all your ranks every season. And if you start seeing, okay, in season 2, I was gold 3, or maybe even gold 1 or 2. And then season 3, I was, gold 3. And then 4, I became platinum 1 and 2. And then season 5 come around. Now you're platinum 3. And maybe by the time it's season 6, you might be diamond 1. You can go back and look at all that progress you made. And I think at the end of the day, that is what really becomes satisfying. You're realizing that, months ago, I was only this skill level, but I, stuck it out, put some time in the game, learned some new things. And now I'm 2 ranks higher than I was months ago. And I'm going to say it right here. After season, when season 5 starts, I might as well delete all my Smurf accounts. I'm about to be like you, Bill. I'm about to be like you, Sock. I'm about to start playing on my main account only, because if you look me up on AOE4 World, looks like I don't play this game. Looks like I don't even play. I got like 5 games in my main account because I'm so scared of it getting even lower ranked. And at the end of the day, like, what doesn't even matter? It doesn't even matter. Like, I mean, okay, like you have some bad days, good days. At the end of the day, the games you put in and the amount of grind you put in, like, I think that's more respectable than, you played 7 games and you're in a plat 1. And so we see you play 7 games for the season, you got the rank you want in, and you stop playing that account so you can get the rewards.
It's like that conundrum with guys who smurf like a lot,
Yeah.
And they have like multiple accounts, and some of their smurfs end up being higher ranked than their original account.
Exactly. And that's what I'm going through that right now. I have a Smurf account, type 1 diabetic. If you guys don't know, yes, this is the account I'm playing on mainly. And I got that account to plat. And guess what I did? I stopped playing on it. I'm like, all right, I'm good now. I got this wrong. Like, it made no sense. Like, now I'm scared to play. Now I have like an account on my Xbox Game Pass, account that I first started playing on. And I'm playing on that account now. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute, what am I doing? Like, this account this Smurf account I'm using, air quote, was supposed to be meant for me to try new things and do new things. And now I'm starting to succeed with those things. So now I'm starting to actually get better. And this account's starting to reap the rewards. My main account's starting to get barren. So like, now I'm like, oh, well, now this account's looking good. So let me just stop playing on this one, make another one. Like, it makes like, at the end of the day, just fine. I think it's more satisfying to find an account and just grind it out and just look at your progress throughout the season. So just do it.
I feel like we're a psychologist's like dream right here. The amount of human psychology and human behavior we can study in this is actually probably genuinely fascinating.
Yeah, because it can actually span throughout not just AoE. Like I played multiple games in the past, and I hit a high rank in the game. I hit Diamond when I played Halo, and I stopped playing on the game. I stopped playing on that account, 100%. And I actually got D ranked because I stopped playing on it. Like at the end of the day, like it's all in your own head. You're in your own head for the most part of this own thing. And I know it can be frustrating seeing yourself get D-ranked, but when you see yourself go up in rank, just that type of frustration from getting D-ranked, it's like almost compensated for the amount of gratitude and the great feeling you feel of ranking up.
Well, that is an element of the game too. I know at the high levels, like there is rank decay. That doesn't apply to gold and platinum where most people sit.
Yeah, but you gotta play on it. If you don't play, then they'll be like, hey, because it's almost like inflating your numbers. Like, if you can easily be a high rank with like 14 games, because the ratio is like, if you're a really high player and you got like 200 plus games, then I'm like, okay, that person is legit.
Yeah, all the pros have like a win percentage of like 52%. You look at like the big pros, like they're all sitting around 50-50 splits. But they've played like 400 games and they're playing good players.
If you look at the top players on the bracket, like Vortex and like Beastie, they don't play their main accounts ever. They get number 1 and they stop playing on it. And they'll say like, oh, because my queue times are bad. Like your queue time's no different from being number 1 to number 6 on the leaderboard. It makes no difference. Like they want to be number 1, so they just get it to where it's at.
I'm sure they don't love people dipping out on them every now and then too. But
yeah, I
would relish a chance to like Marine Lord just destroy me on RTS. It'd be so cool. I'd be like, oh, cool. Like I'm getting destroyed by the best guy in the game. Like, cool.
I would play like potentially I could beat him.
I would just try and do something. Like I would try my best and see if I can't do something cool. Like
exactly.
I think I would speak to yourself being a good player if you got matched up with one of them.
Exactly, that'd be cool. But yeah, that's just my take on it. I think like I said, like Tim said, just do it. It's not that big of a deal. And a lot of times you're in your own head about it. Just play it. You know what I'm saying? Get your level up. Get your really look back and see that you actually grinded out a season. 200-300 games instead of 200-300 games spanned it between 3-4 accounts.
Any other thoughts we want to share on this, guys? Anyone else have any final thoughts before we move on to our extra sheeps?
I think I'm good.
I don't think so.
All right. Well then, I'll start with myself. I'll make mine really quick today because we're going a little long here. But my extra sheep is I was playing with my brother-in-law and my wife, who are new to the game. My brother-in-law, shout out to American Jeremy. He is Going to be the next up and coming top world contender, I'm sure. He's learning the game. He's actually having a lot of fun with it too. I was trying to. This is an interesting thing. I am going to go a bit longer than I wanted to. Balancing a game with a custom game with people who are not on your skill level is really interesting because I had added a couple computer players and I had like one computer player on my team that was like intermediate, and then I gave them a couple computer players that were like hard, and it was them 4 versus me and my little dumb computer buddy who was cannon fodder, just to try and get a balanced game because me being at plat and them being at learning the game, the skill difference is massive, just massive. So I was doping around. It was a really fun game, just kind of hanging out. And at the end, they both tried doing like go for broke, like go around my base and throw in some siege and stuff. And they tried to do a little proxy base behind me. It was really fun. My wife at one point had a couple trebs trying to treb down my stuff. She's giggling. She knows where I'm going with this. I thought it was really funny. And I was like, oh, you know what? I was playing this HRE, so I had like all the relics on the map. And so I pulled one of them out and I was like, I'm going to take over these trebs. And I went to go Wololo the trebs. I didn't realize this. I never tried this before, but it was just so outlandish. Like, I'm going to try it. I tried Wololoing her trebs and I realized you cannot convert siege in this game. I did not know that.
See, Socerton, the siege, whether it be trebuchet or otherwise, they don't have religious ideologies. So,
yeah, it makes sense.
So converting quite difficult.
Well, I just heard the term Deus Ex Machina, like the God machine. I just figured, maybe there was something to that. Tried. No, they didn't listen. The power of my Wololo did not compel them. So there you go. There you have it. It's not something I didn't really know. I was kind of wondering, is this going to work? Like, I just hadn't tried it because you never get the chance to Wololo siege. It just doesn't happen. Wololos are rare enough as it is. But there you go. I have learned definitively you cannot convert siege. It is not living. So there you have it. We think about this. When you convert a knight, you convert not only the guy riding it, but you also convert the horse. Just think about that.
What civ were you playing at the time?
I was playing HRE.
Could you imagine just Socerton doing God's work, trying to convert a trebuchet to Catholicism? Attaboy.
That's
Nobody's operating it. It's just a trebuchet. It's just a pile of wood. And
just trying to. I'm just sitting there patting the trebuchet, going, it's okay. Jesus was a carpenter. It's okay. You can join us.
He's a carpenter.
Too good. Beale, what's your extra sheep this week?
I haven't had a lot of time to play the past couple of weeks. Stuff going on in my personal life, but I did have a decent game against China recently, and just honestly, it was just a reminder for me of how the initial engagement, like if you have a decent fight in Feudal Age, how that can just set the entire tone of the game. And like you can win at the platinum level, you can win at like minute 12 with a really good engagement, even though the game doesn't end until minute 35, just because of all the damage you did early. And like if you win a great fight early on, just the fact that your opponent's now always on the back foot militarily, even if they are China, the importance of winning those fights, and or maybe knowing to retreat and not losing so many units early on in a losing feudal battle, like really picking the timing when you take your feudal engagements. That was hammered home to me in one of the games I was actually able to play in the past couple of weeks.
That's neat. I guess that's a good analogy. I mean, it's like Sir Nevels was playing me, and that game was over for 20 minutes. But sometimes you just
I didn't know it was. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I guess
he's like news to me, bro.
I knew it was. I was trying. I was just making it hard on him. But I guess sometimes like that snowball takes a little while to start rolling. I guess that's cool. That's cool. Sir Nevels, what is your extra sheep, my friend?
Okay. All right. Mine's a little extra. I try always. All right. So mine's a little extra sheep. Well, basically, this is something I've been trying lately that get me doing good. I want to say it's even originally something that I came up with, but I just heard it, I think, from some streamer. But so what I was doing before, I had it to where I propped my phone up during a game and it just said make videos. Like that is basically I had me a little kickstand on my phone, propped it up, said make videos. Every now and then I peep on it. I look back. Oh yeah, make videos. Kind of got me in a good habit of doing that. That's what I was doing. But now I've decided to do something a little different. I don't know if people are doing this or not. I don't do this often, but sometimes, maybe I'm a little tired. I run a game up, do something a little different. What I do, and this might not be attainable for everybody, but I go into, you can use Adobe. Well, I use Adobe Audition, but that's not free, so I wouldn't recommend that. But I used to use Audacity. You go in there, you record, just record your own voice saying something. So like me, for example, I recorded, check your economy. I recorded it and I played it back every, I think, 45 seconds in a loop with the Adobe Audition. And every now and then, just passively, a voice, I basically made my conscience talk to me. I basically
telling me he's got a couple voices in his head.
I pretty much made myself a schizophrenic. So I basically, I am a makeshift schizophrenic. So every 45 seconds, I heard in the back of my head, look at your economy. That's my own voice. And it worked though. I would check my economy. I'd be like, oh yeah, so yeah. Pretty much, I made myself a psychopath. But
you gotta make a Reddit post about that, please. That is so good,
bro. Imagine if you weren't sober and you did that.
Oh my God!
You would lose your marbles.
I'm like, I gotta go. I mean, me and Sock playing again. I'm like, yeah, what do you mean? What? Huh? Wish myself, like, what's going on? No, I'm making it. I'm doing it. Like, what is going on here?
Everyone like, what is going on?
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, it's nothing too crazy. I just want to that's something I personally started doing. And it helped me balance my economy. I know it sounds really extra and really crazy.
That is the funniest extra sheep we've had on this podcast yet. Oh man.
Yeah. I just So I basically played it back in a loop, just telling them what to do. Some like little personal, my own self coaching.
That's like that old blonde joke I used to hear like in elementary school. Like the blonde had like her headphones that said "breathe in, breathe out," like on repeat or something.
I've heard that one too.
Oh my gosh,
that is
so
hilarious.
funny. Sir Nevels, the obligate schizophrenic. I love it.
There you go. That's my goal.
Wow, Tim, you can't top that. I don't know how you're gonna top that, but what's your
I know
sheep?
the way to make me laugh. Well, first it makes me think that's a little third-party software shenanigans going on.
Exactly. I don't know exactly. I'm gonna have to make sure that's tournament qualified. They're like, hey, what's going on there, man?
Yeah, I might have to ask Relic if that's
legal. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, my extra sheep. I'm not sure if this has to be AOE related or not.
Not
but I'm going to
keep
it AOE. For AOE, obviously, I mean, we talked about it in the interview, but I just wanted to say thanks for you guys, not only for inviting me to the podcast, but thanks for the past year or so, because this has been an absolutely incredible experience that I'm never going to forget. Usually the way I split my hobbies, I kind of do them in projects. So I have projects that I do for so many years, and then maybe I'll switch to a different project or anything like that. But this has been some of the most rewarding things that I've experienced outside of my job, of course, but secondarily for people that watch my casts, even if you're just a regular viewer on EGC or whatever, DM me critiques actually, and you could shit on me if you want. Oh, you got to blank that out. You can rag on me if you want to. Like that's because I really want to get better and I want to be the best caster that I could possibly be. So even if you could just DM me on Discord and be like, hey, I think you did a really good job, or be like, hey, I didn't really like your casting and this is why. Obviously I can't make everybody happy, but I welcome any kind of feedback, whoever you are. So, but really, I appreciate being on this podcast, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed having you, Tim. This has been, like I said, this is a really, really fun group of guys we have on this podcast. I've just really struck me today, like between Beale, Sir Nevels, Tim, all the things that I think we have all individually done for the community, and also now collectively too. I think it's just, we got a good group of guys here. I feel like definitely, when I think of AoE, I think of Beale, I think of Sir Nevels, I think of Tim, I think of Asklad, I think of Mochatronics, I think of EGCTV and all the guys on there. I'm proud to be part of this community. I hope everyone out there listening at home has enjoyed this. And Tim, thank you so much again, man. This has been great.
I had a blast. This is so much fun.
Yeah, I know. We always end up going way longer than we planned to. I've been recording for 2 hours and 47 minutes. I know that I'm hungry. I'm sure Beale is like, guys, I want to go eat dinner.
Oh, I'm starving.
Yep. So Nevels, you are probably hungry. Everyone, you guys have a great day. And thanks for being on the show.
Most definitely. It was a good time.
This has been The Extra Sheep, the unofficial AoE 4 podcast. You can find your hosts, Socerton on Twitch, AoE_Bill on Twitch, and Sir Nevels on YouTube. A special thanks this week to our guest star, TenFourTim, who you can also find on Twitch